good are you?
Who job round one?
Huh?
Who job had round one?
NYUJT.
Oh, right. What did they go for?
They went for sec call, but they also said the Arandier.
What do you have to
So he's just straight through that.
Like, wait, what was the first one? What was the on?
Fed.
Was it politics or was it paralegal?
It was like it was basically admin flex DA, but it was specific to like residents in Iran.
Oh,
So
got
like
it.
cards right.
So, okay, yeah.
You still want to debate on that?
I've been, yeah, I mean, I judged at Georgetown in Texas, and then I coached high school.
Nice.
But this is my last year for sure.
That was it.
Because I got law school as well. So I just, yeah, also, but like, just, I don't know. Hot bill for something. It's very nice.
There's a lot of tension here. Give me your puppy. Okay.
Oh, it's the other NYU team. The reading. Makes sense.
Claire or Serena, if you all have a timer, that's so good.
Yeah. Probably took it out now.
It's all good.
Yeah, I actually do. Kind of a bad one. Mood lighting.
Right.
That's the Claire.
Oh, Wednesday's been sent, by the way.
Yeah, here we go.
All three judges to sit down.
Yeah.
And Michigan.
Yeah.
Advantage one is corporate responsibility, CSR caps, global risk for enforcing negative business practice and redirecting towards social good major 25 business. Happens to both losses, level planetary boundaries, climate change, biosphere, diffuse water by chemical flows, ocean acidification, ocean depletion, reliability, resiliency, or short-term services, retaining unsustainable practices that avoid leading responsible capital businesses rooted in personal behavior and sustainable approach, development approach to sustainable prosperity. Corporate social responsibility fields essential threats to management top requires leadership from levels of top 25 against to address actual chance of nuclear, biological, climate change, disruptive technology, space, role, including accidental risk, global landscape, including political, environmental, social tech, representability, future of humanity, now take a look at unprecedented risks, long-term performance, and record is becoming more challenging to manage speed leaders. Social responsible CSR is key to peace building, element prevention, road, social firm development, aid, diplomatic resolution, reduce violent conflict with body, and all 25 CSR contribute to peace building, element prevention, business, promote peace, community development, promote stability, reduce international firms, promote peace through tactical diplomacy, informal negotiations, diplomacy, and reducing conflict business, and promote human rights and the rule of law. Companies play the objective role in the area, state, commit to enormous Estonia, let the big important donation to reduce violent conflict, and assist civil society organs, conflict resolution, collective bargaining, CSR, stop to dissolve all front, 21st, on business, and cover, safety building from the lives, contribute to alleviating global challenges by programs, societal operations, the CSR in place, contribute to major stakeholders, collective bargaining, determine CSR related material issues, investments, increasing, mutually beneficial agreements, and employees, neither energy, competitive advantage, if you're allowed to OECD countries to get the unions and positive impact on CSR, implementation steps and organize and employees are increases CSR, seemingly lower negotiated wage on consumers, and might lead to a higher price of the firms, those better off that way by effective higher employment level, utility, the employees and change with the CSR. It's good to purely effective popular workers are key to ensure genuine CSR compliance, coherent policy 24 from showing CSR play negative output experience of company by higher revenues and declining cost CSR effects and status collective level and CSR commits to higher output generates consumers or close unit 7 to corporate CSR and bargaining restrictions again, have also targets without any alteration market way to output, market repercussions in number of analysis, and they consider how much use against starting finding positive correlation units, help prevent that firms can be too firm, and risk for sufficient companies can educate and impose images not enforceable trade units, help to with because they have those custom firms were not here to their obligation. 3, balancing CSR to the workers transition to corporate governance until 25 CSR, the new corporate empowered of corporations or the awareness of the corporations to operate parts of the social ecosystem, corporations by mass of the frameworks, lack of accountability, turn multiple races, drivers, and negative externalities, and real estate by companies who have culturally advanced pursuit media profits, and reason for social responsibility, that doesn't culture monoxide, that's why balance power should be restructured. This would involve opening the other stakeholders, spread people, the employees, finding the balance between government benefits and efficiency. Advantage 2 is tech head and vocab structurally constrained, governmental regulatory intervention, Japanese public protections, blocked by the 24th U.S. Silicon Valley based upon investment regulation, and government still puts understand tech and to intervene in order to regulate emerging technology regulations with fire. You know, the way machine learning report right might be simple solutions that explain the complexity makes solution meaningful because often adjust the asymmetry, the burden between developers and policymakers and the public value music over the asymmetry. Workers are uniquely positioned to constrain structure tech adoption. 1, distance are directly intertwined with tech applications. The 25 key workers have a relationship with the product creator, a relation with the tech workers, and broader societal advanced workers, and a relationship with the product of unique position power. 2, unions are best supporting standards, mobilized worker power policy. 24 tech is to be the vision of big tech and will change again. And both the tech itself, for particularly use information to add water by teams are listen to coordinating the establish the best practice, what unions are assigned to have excellent doing for century pretty much FLSA, FLA, and LRA, organizing labor, still getting workers worse than they will affect large scale change. 3, human rights tech workers are unique position to prevent style disintegration, emerging technologies. 25 workers as a producer, difficult to use employees, human rights, tech workers, of the this tech companies, while access quasi state power through the control from the sector field, and also information for public 0% tech workers, organizing such workers are engaging workplace advocacy, John the Fifth, the extensive corporate state power workers are connected to those who are by technically great, but fully access and shot down by corporations, takes it all 25 tech. Biggest corporations are getting down to employees, heavy work active, rejecting petitions, firing employees who organize protests, but then get away with stuff companies, and just macro-friendly policy, policy, economic moderation, and top stance to encourage employee activism, Silicon Valley companies, if that's the person you don't say anything else, you get fired. Even when they form credits and faded, employees can descend, manifesting works were quiet, growing, but the rest of playing role of an active employees are warning regulation on safety risks because they lack the protections from the NLRA 21 to 5 ways are protected when voicing certain would manage the public against include disabilities that also discards the employers, also not be directly related to conditional employment, cannot themselves be brought to subject to contract activity, draws line between an action, the further critical and disconsidered disloyal, tech development lacks sufficient guardrails, social responsibility, maximize upsides, innovation, minimize downside risk, between O'Connor 24 tech, promises all problems that the same individual women's consequences innovators double ahead of the regulation process, limiting this with taking more responsibility to emerging tech focus on market objectives and business concerning the lead to public compliance and then for new forms of market low force integrations and effects on society, no managers, which are basically affecting system of virtue with low implications working net for unleashing it now virtue repression ethical implications and practice little technical problems that consider individual left devices to control emerging tech costs distinction someone at all 24 emerging tech written to be widespread include AI, DC, IGen, engineering, quantum computing, and central reality utilization and space migration and technical more advanced adverse like increased fields to ensure the operation of safe tech could be better to realize paradox whereby technology to ensure distinction effects controls are critical and AI systemically undermines public trust through polarization, disinformation, result goals, action, flexible knockout, outlook, and door, go to 22, the internet, the right that AI lead to disinfo, outlook, polarization, increasing self-radicalization, so the public selection, people exclusively to confirmation bias, and that's break you, echo chambers lead to representation of content users, or which are machine with polarization, adverse results contribute to the misinfo ideas employed by states, so the disinfo trade, are to the decision-making capacity of humanity, the risk for pandemic, work, climate change, to extend the risk of research, AI, cybersecurity, armies that led to intention to polarization, have effect, intellectual dress, analytic, compromise, electric, addressing essential risk, public acceptable disinfo, campaigns, eroding trust, and structure may limit their ability to respond to experts, and safety, competition, right, risk, and the ability to reach diverting attention to nuclear weaponry, and then by AI, to limit probably to reverse nuclear weapons, opposed to extra nuclear winter, to daily virus, that makes of experts who may say, well, making work respond to another pandemic, it is crucial this and not disseminate AI, to make these decide dangerous, about the that practice of training AI, doesn't pretend to do like energy training, single model AI, models with 300,000 kg of government active goes nuclear extinction to marker 25 CPICs, and high stakes, and national security jurisdiction on new safe minutes, and I can deceive even for a few minutes about the statute with nuclear, Russian nuclear force surveillance, awarding legions, and AI, and post cascading crisis in American, the message for Russian missile tests, beginning of offensive safety, except we were war, Jonah, public support, Russia says them use new China, is fitting, no good to expand ICBMs, impossible to go for illustration or wait for technology should it so, unproperly information, then practice should, break the risk and lead to doomsday, social responsible AI, bomb balance, upside down, so this military development, has complex solution, body, hurts 25 degrees, to go to fragmentation and recent position between nuclear power for the new Johnson emergency discord of de-risk, reduction AI, taking over, but remember the dynamics of defense, and take major risks off the table, the door for training opportunities, better practice capacity for ranking, all out of who in control health, military voice, misfire by moving human air, mechanical failure, this reduces risk and organization, regulation, role play, making the best practice, otherwise risky AI, out option, risk, mad, extinction, struggle, Walker 2060, phase AI, one kilo of the reservation sensory, liquid models acting from diplomatic purposes, surrendered 95% of gains, at least one technically weapons deployed, new model which is surrounded the basis of the safety pocket for APM, and represents the kind of strong understanding of the public, and people who face from centralized AI to short circumstances, uncertain expanding, tech work running process is popular and solved when the change 24 posts, tech workers that the big benefit doesn't deserve because of high earnings and money for how their work should be done, and change when for to business and how tech workers enjoy a high worker control, other collective active challenge, mental control, focus on cyber ops, such as you said, migrant to secret content, DoD content, sales, which have it, so be speech ultimately, like we bargain, ensure the workers have been enforced and workplace assisting essential, public trust issue, US tech norms spill over, keep global responsible AI development, minority 25 global community, let's use usage of whole ecological norms, misuse the technical leadership, authority, environment, the original organization, disable international centers, sourcing responsible US lead, development, priorities, ethical governance, to risk, love authority, regime, state, global world is responsible leader, driven, guiding governance, and the plan, thus the plan, States government should substantially strengthen the bargaining rights for workers in the United States by clarifying that pro-social bargaining is protected as a form of compensation or working condition. Solvency. The plan clarifies the scope of collective bargaining over corporate social responsibility frame, for workers as their job engagement in activity over bodies that demonstrate the concern debating chance, bargaining representation to align with the NLRA's intended proposal to determine the broader section of the proposal that I said worker rights, CSR, to be transformed into compensation or working condition for every next commitment to the employer's action in time to offering a working condition. This definition of employer's mission effective manner subject bargaining that enables workers to bargain over managerial decisions or social responsibility while tax 20 workers that are already working to manage decisions when those have consequences on the terms and conditions new law should make clear the direction of corporate enterprise as directly impacting terms and conditions managed subject to bargaining workers' lives are better by purpose and not supplies that workers have better right to continue to collaborate by including worker voice in decision increasing the rich I should expect to respond to a broad range of concerns single protections for worker organizing and unlocks social actions prevents corporate crackdown on worker rights change again 21 employers seeking mainly to the workers provides solution for actions in worker domain of the life of employees and jobs as well as psychological social needs to satisfaction not from self-interest affected by personal impact of working people that suggest people to see the role of meaningful serving communal good workers that identify with companies 7 cents that companies must address society challenges for the people running at school concerns where how workers place and importance and more by the work service and nutrition needs for the protection of the workers conditions of women and power units to bargain for social reforms that realigns corporate behavior checking on again 21 units that they can putting costs further for bargaining workers negotiate pro social rights to help wage and consideration impact of work teams severally budget consideration regarding the collective bargaining unit to connect work with employees that social needs well as technical and organization employees to do engage in social activism and consider utilizing their union collective bargaining control laws for workers actions work with social consequences activities that company service to realign with the law and powers employees use in costs social good legal protections are key elements like response solves Dean 25 each workers under the labor mind if enable human rights against the struggle fighting legal protection for organizing the chiefs framework circles traditional interpretive sections of artificial temporary workers and how gave to political social protections was an individual report on collective action strictly using legal protection making more effective and stable extending legal protection protecting and spend workers ability to challenge use of labor is critical as crucial about broadening and interpretation section of a better line but with not much support. I had like 40 seconds. I was very fast. You said anything you want me to read? I'll at least read like a preemption card, I think.
You want to read this?
Sure. CSR solves math speed at section 124. The population needs facing serious knowledge that 5% of security, 40% of pollination, particularly bees are diverse, the population of 6% of experience with reduced egg, and dependent natural pollination, and new sources and security CS represents, and does the process that promotes beef production, and corporate error plays that fund bee conservation practices, wildlife predation, deposit rate, and bees are the future for our planet. So we'll send that out, and if I can find this card fast enough. Any state's counterclaim gets preempted. Anders 24 federal law preempts states collective bargaining and credit from regulating activity, predict the NLRA state term like the best way to jump into our bargaining rights. Setting both of those out.
Okay.
And I'm setting the same card. He says sending the other one. Okay.
Do y'all mind if I send that in the body?
Yeah. Okay, I'm good to start with that. Are you all good?
I'm good.
Okay, the plan modifies section 7 of the NLRA to allow pro-social bargaining. Am I correct about that?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the things it does. Yeah.
So does it have, what else does it do?
What else does it do? The crane evidence also talks about, and this is BF section, would be under that as well,
Sure.
but the crane evidence, what the plan does is it allows for workers to collectively bargain over pro-social issues via union form. The crane evidence gives an example of that being that if a corporation would have a stated CSR goal, and then they would change that to go against it, that's a mandatory subject to bargaining.
Okay, is that Congress amends the NLRA and then the NLRA enforces it?
Normal means is likely Congress, although I think that if you read a counterclaim, that just does the AFI a different agent.
Why do you think normal means is Congress?
That's the Block and Saxon crane evidence.
Why? Like Congress is...
Yeah, it would change the NLRA. The NLRA is a law.
Well, I mean...
It would need to change that, yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, normal means is the most likely way the plan is done. Why do you think that's not just action by the NLRB to like allow different forms of...
Because that's not what our evidence describes.
Okay, sure. What happens if a employer violates their obligation to like pro-socially bargain in good faith?
What happens? Well, for a couple of things would happen. There'd be the usual NLRA practice. For example, the NICS evidence talks about what's happening in status quo about tech workers cracking down on employee activism. They'd be rehired, put in. There would be mandatory like
how is that
rights.
Who enforces that?
Likely it would be the NLRB. Yeah.
How? Through like financial penalty? Is it just like the status quo, like how labor rights are enforced?
Yeah, we don't change the financial penalty scheme.
Okay, why? Okay, the second advantage. How does the app prevent AI being integrated into like NC3?
It doesn't stop it from being integrated, but instead changes the platforms that integration relies upon.
Well, but that seems to happen within like the military, not.
Yes, the military. Where do you think the military gets AI from? It's from private companies.
Okay, so you don't think it bans it? I guess why would
that does not ban it?
Okay, how would the way that AI is used in the military
the plan does not need to change military practices. What it needs to change is the models that they rely on. I think a good example of this is in the Batty evidence talked about this, but as well as the Stoffel-Walker evidence, in that like the advanced AI models are in the status quo.
So one of your
weapons, one thing that workers
So your
require-
impact evidence indicates one of the reasons why AI goes rogue and starts a conflict is because there's no data sets to train it on because there's.
I don't believe that's our scenario though. I don't believe any of our cards say that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but no, it doesn't say that. It's our argument.
Okay, I guess what is the scenario for extinction? Is it like AI misperceives?
It's not AI
conventional-
misperceives. We have recent evidence from I think about a month ago that found recent studies that found that they are very likely to recommend nuclear strikes in a conflict scenario.
Recommend nuclear strikes, like so. The U.S. already has to be in a conflict. It's the argument that conventional strikes get misinterpreted as nuclear.
Yeah, we
strikes.
think that militaries will. We have other like war stands, but the Stoffel-Walker evidence, since you're talking about the NC3 stuff, is about military planners over relying on AI recommendations and then listening to those, and those recommendations being bad absent socially responsible AI.
It was sent. It's 8, or no, it's 10, and then 1, 2.
3 is solvency.
No, 4 is CSR then tech.
Okay. I haven't gotten anything. Lisa, if you got anything.
I got it.
Okay.
The Wi-Fi is so bad.
Yeah, I still don't see it. Could you like Discord to me or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on it. It's really weird.
I'm sending Will the 1MC on the Discord.
Yeah, it came through. I didn't even see that. Okay, I've got it now.
Is the whole panel good?
First off, states the United States are relevant on the London territories or localities should certain collective bargaining rights for workers in the United States by clarifying the purchase of bargaining is protected in the form of compensation for working condition with an explicit application to all workers and claim of market participation. The jurisdiction creating constitutional register for social bargaining condition cooperation with federal nations under social bargaining is protected states alone solve as a national bargaining result in federal update while aggressively swinging state sovereignty. Johnson 26 and 90s labor groups of the states recommendation for alternative space for development, the child mobilization, national levels for goals and their policy for 7 level government resetting state sovereignty, salty station, hogs and and then 19 fees and having security shelter for area as in terms of where these are systems security transfer states the one resolution is the jobs at the current states and other looking worse, the Congress also boys major super to constitution rights of the states and the ratified by the court and the convention running effective 48 the one to be recommended to be relevant purposes. Next option training where overcomes opposing nature to effective enforcement share 92 check that what is organization to be the training and scope of a right to this is another way of shooting the distributed the coverage and then the protection scope of the the activities of research training ability to overcome opposing nature within its scope of one precision training scope are legally distinct concepts that guides research 2 limits exceptions are unbounded infinite excluded workers and harms 3 undergrounds core ideas and counterfeits assuming existing 2 next off disarm counter ideas and automation and disarms nuclear weapons if only pro-social marketing is productive disarm and tunes the globe mad cops all conflicts and constant cooperation extinction caliber 24 I'm not sure GL volcanism and all ASI and general extinction committees evolution review GV company and then using how they get talking to and then emergence and escalation authority detail and the so do not tier 2 clash MET break out next up midterms the answer to the mission to find the constitution prohibits all 3 house voting districts for the state until on March 7th to 2022 on the 2026 until the 2030 and update current internally binding policy with extreme punishment for at least 2 fairly certified and the 2026 midterm election, not declared suspend election, and with the national government domestic leader challenge election procedure until 2030, and on November 4th, the strict collective bargaining rights for workers in the United States by clarifying that presidential bargaining is protected today for compensation or work and condition, and not real the Voting Rights Act, so now applying right through 26 and here the plan enables the GOP to currently be paid on focused economic pathways, and the B steps to the punch. The Phillips Key District, Avenue 25 District Policy, Young City, Good Avenue, losing corporate decision making, all free to fairly well reclassing Americans, they have the midterm right, but be wise and group the advantage of working regularly progressive voters who usually get election percent of visa, because they would progress the 6 to 10% of the significant and indicated election, independent Democrats, provide economic position, and then feeling ability to be through massive world break against with economic progressive agenda to the Congress in 26 would be cut by the campus, bring us governmental workers on the right side, leverage Jem Win blocks to go into Congress to find Pentecost recent year capable of losing GD technology also and be politically space when you observe the chooses mentioned the house with the themselves how things are going to be put action money for GD with that name extinction of serious first against the Roman intent 25 and 25 GD running confidence in their insurance for a Russian government that's and then deploying the arms system in orbit was an arms in the danger that's going to be injured and then driven by interest of the threat to eligible amount of confidence in secretary government of deterrence for the entity which was real the realms of deterrence of the vulnerable increasing their and something to act for believers and the funding from your research to try and one and that's representing conventional benefit occurrences of the dangerous presence of normal urbanization space and overly slowly programs producing GD as a challenge to start next up antitrust the national government should hold it in restriction on pro-social bargaining anti-competitive that regulates solves the case labor antitrust create damages for anti-union unfair labor practices positive 20 perform every more predictable labor use of the say that basically on any good accent that virtually will be our legal prohibitions on constitution actions against monopolies by standard and significant facts of that damages increases them to bring labor side intersection but reforms issue includes against monopolies by preserve an actual structure not generating single legal uncertainty applying antitrust as a challenge dominance rebuttal as competition launch of backstop converging against central risk media we want to be facing other fancy companies here towards the liberal but be use and disagreeing whether we go extreme antitrust to root in companies is an interest central for demand and the help food and the future tech is solving the quality of the gates are and then should have that important protection on the share good share of the direction that to the vendors issues but also right to watch the system would be anti-monopoly the challenge of the challenge not only identify excessive power and how to do other public issues of the bitter with an interest in the economics of making attention to power parking takes conditions signals that beyond traditional competition should be involved in works and reps out the revenues are controlled like authorities can get out of the way of using the competition of scale power users usually interest in massa control the power next out the calculate liberal as a tool of capitalism legal protections of same class struggle interfering with capital accumulation precluding class consciousness directed toward liberal doubles improvements of how far it is possible the facilities capital are except from capital sole purpose of protecting the capital against competition workers are safe on the tendencies to require this capital rights are based on workers that is defined by enterprise rate get out of for autonomy a loss of subordination organizing the transformed itself into the self-control organization of reviewers division capitalism is systemically unsustainable extinction divergent with the there's a data and economics and multiplier for the property bleeding which is submission by independent research basically with a little bit Lisa constructive intelligent machine user to create the inevitable extinction cap that makes extinction system capitalist wars and is clear to the company with the research station because it's a powerful set and the rules set they need to expand and foster resource fosters the military service and military gains them is increasing spending military service and new value the heavy is ever essential feel like capitalist the alternative is the economic commitment to a planned economy through system to marketing of the rights separately basis of the GDP to the maximum represent American sell lots in capital was expanded democracy and enterprise socialism which is the emancipation because any control labor some purposes discussions regards to accumulation investment names of relation to long-term market logic names of excess like next on the oil account the opposite information and regulatory pressure of providing body regulatory review by certain collective bargaining rights for workers in the United States by clarifying that most social bargaining is production is a form of compensation or working condition issue with proper literacy of the federal government to implement the guys talk about cost benefit analysis of regulatory review by the OIRA Otherwise, the solvency represents 24 hour review to be important areas of orientation and issues and then address the problems before there are agencies in it or which is security including BC and what's issues that have been resolved or agency publishes mentioning or risk of a review on the skills or to get extent of risk for more to review and something I'm not fair to the act should be to the risk company IS or community by junior areas of failure that takes themselves just by using CBA analysis or then review by red but places literal and just review by red but examine opportunities just percent identify gaps next up MQD is strong out the plan kills adoption measure for us on that make up the regulation the court that they include authorization and MPD from the delegation workers raising voltage negotiation also for like agency development clear to state directions the MPD is robust apply now blocking pore space CCS 35 the CCS was used in the environment on the CO2 constitution that means to be emitted exposing you some big CO2 at least have that and enable the retail in charge of groundwater and the demand for scarce water here in the market player or decision regarding a risk on the resisting machinery and all CCS and MPD that should be power the other programs are going to say you mentioned CCS and for money all assessment sharing and figures in the MPD will answer the completely out all agencies are vulnerable evaluation the LCCS is actually checking to find that represented about the advanced tech to detect as you lead and have to do real generation and then indicated unacceptable risk of the elevator originally result reactivation and then fractionally constitute estimate from using effectiveness of first order and the methods show the fault is obstacle to eject the seismicity is not reported due to resolution but seismicity on hard by the integrity of the illusion process ecosystems of managing intensification high concentration hard by organism the security leakage degraded set by causing decision leakage of the final and then running in the entire ecosystem for UC customers disposing of everything habit, degradation, disease, loss, economic advantage, one, CSR, risk mitigation, or detached, or center three of the global goes we undersupplied, some of these refer to levers, reaction to others, expected for future value, without improved mitigation, motivate, motivational, and usage, lawsuits, by season, short election, which are obstacles, larger, political decision making, say, self-dishonorably, allocate resources, inequality, structural all cause, and the 16th, like growing exact the knowledge of the acknowledge that how much people represent the problem of the business, and which one of the inequality, the background of corporate engagement, and reversion, the inequality recurs that you're seeing with concept of the running business. There's regular market exchange, and these requires collective approach where businesses are rated equality to the private sector. Corporations circumvent normal means to be penalty enforced by under resource regulators since the region where the work is also the risk penalties are low. So we have constantly moved at this level terms to break the law of firms caught underpaying are just referred to wages penalty are solved under 9,000 in the case where the 90,000 cases were firm underpaid to so the convention advantage to general virtue checking facts are fake. Could have to achieve virtue with the lack of understanding of time for time to mature adoption challenges real effects including the aspects of checking pointed back protect already said the second changing the British discussion and the discussion that takes place before mature usability purposes here are correlated. The check was resolution made one of the before and entrance representing assessment reflects political actions of media and then revolution looking at the word version. If I AI diffusion escalation cost between one scholarship and argues the IDC was a state of the utility of the diffusion by several limits represent another greater granularity of invisibility community around and the extreme views of the short sighted the INS and the decision making or improving the ability of resolving integrating the ING ISR of the and then the proof and the identification parameter was also increasing its understanding on the reducing of the unintended escalation eliminated by from the crucial de-escalation. No AI extinction shame 23 all threats AI is understood as bringing this is the organization of the rating others at least normally would have energy to leaving wasting time to I'm not trying to exterminate different energy as can be made securities. Now it's from the AI is unnecessary and it is ruled by political obstacles. One to one many talk about AI to solve problems so the problems are also with current computer the civilization without regarding until it is taking what is currently done and spreading practices which need less corruption and the advantages over general neural have dedicated data and research to advance solutions across all problems. Do you want to reply? No. 45 seconds. Okay, we will send these out. It's still on advantage too. Humans remain in the loop, limiting miscalculation. Depth in 24 AI. They could improve the reliability detection and second strike. The human machine and the piece of will harness the precision with the flexibility that ways automation by sequence will always maintain a HINL of over 40 nations of the joint or responsible use in all cases for actions executing the human control is maintained. Statements of the sun signaling the importance of humans. Actions. We'll send that card.
Yeah, let's get that card. So let me know when you've got it, and then I'll start.
Yeah, oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Open.
Yeah.
Status.
Conditional against in debates where the app didn't disclose every card.
Okay. Can you kick points?
Yeah, against
All
the same
points?
condition.
Cool. Making sure that we're right. Skipped the NLRB counterplan and dollar hedge. Anything else?
No.
Cool. The CAPK. The alternative is an economic commitment to planned economy. Is that fiated by the USFG? What does that look like?
It's legislation.
Cool. What happens when corporations don't let that happen? They say
it's
no.
fiated. Like it's,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you fiat corporations. Like
we fiat
any fiat beyond the
control.
USFG.
We fiat worker control.
How does that
So
happen?
there's
Tell me.
legislation
Walk me
that
through those
mandates-
steps.
So in essentially planned economy, there's no
No.
employer
I don't
controls.
care about the endpoint. I care about the process to getting there. How do we? How do you just
legislation is passed that mandates
So corporation- but again,
to
you
give up
can't-
control to workers.
What is okay? If a corporation says no, we want to keep running it. What?
Okay, if that is true, like whatever penalties the plan enforces.
Come on, no, you seize the entire economy, dude. Come on, no. What happens to it?
I genuinely
It's the same
don't understand.
penalties.
I don't understand why adopting a worker-controlled economy prohibits the government from using.
Okay, what
penalties
happens to
to
shareholders?
that.
What happens to shareholders?
What about them? Like,
What happens to them in this planned economy?
What do you think would like?
I'm asking you. What do
Um,
you think? What happens to them?
like they. What do you mean? What happens to shareholders?
Yeah,
Like,
do they
still
just lose all their
exist,
wealth?
still, like,
What
invest?
happens?
I mean, wealth still exists. People can still invest in companies.
People can still invest. Okay, then what does this change from the status quo?
You said that the reason why corporations are unsustainable is because of employer control that allows them to interfere with worker influence. We've banned that.
We've banned. So you just ban managers, basically.
Yeah, that's how worker control works.
Just ban managers. Okay. T strengthen. What evidence do you have about the stat? Do you have any evidence about the current scope of CBRs?
The current scope
Yeah,
of CBRs.
it says you can't expand the scope. What evidence do you have about what is that scope?
We don't have cards that describe how large the scope of collective bargaining rights are in the status quo.
We don't have a card for that. Okay.
In the 1NC.
The disarm counter plan. Do you have evidence that disarm is coming now?
No.
Cool, then how does this compete?
Sorry, so what was the thing?
If and only if, how does this compete?
I mean, there could be political momentum for
Yeah,
disarmament
like
now.
the card does not say it. We could
There's
say
no
it if
nuclear
you
fragments.
permute it.
Okay, then why vote negative on this counterplan? What is the trade-off?
Well, if we win that disarm is coming now, and we read evidence for that in the block, then it means that the plan would trade off.
Plan would trade
Or,
off.
or vice versa. You understand what I'm trying to
Okay. I guess net benefits of the counterplans.
Okay, so states has the internal as well as midterms. The disarm counterplan is just its own thing. Midterms is just whatever, just on that sheet. Antitrust, I think, is just internal. And I guess is midterms as well, because that doesn't have to do, the counterplan doesn't do anything with unions, or doesn't strengthen collective bargaining itself.
It's nothing with unions.
Wait,
But actually, great question. What does antitrust do without unions?
So the counterplan makes it so that restrictions on pro-social bargaining from the employer side are anti-competitive. So it increases antitrust enforcement against
But
it.
it doesn't do anything with unions.
It doesn't directly strengthen collective bargaining rights.
Okay.
It could result in unionization.
10 minutes from now.
Okay.
I just need.
Yeah, we're saving a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
Alice got lawyers. Yeah, put a lot of time, but split it into two.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, probably not enough. But I
I'm grabbing some stuff out here.
um,
Okay, I've saved my stuff. No, I've already got that stuff. You're good.
oh, okay. Oh, where is it? Sorry.
Save just 2 AC extra. I can also send out a second document. It's fine.
I think I got it. Okay, stop. 7:04. Sending that out now. This should be I get your statement?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm good for an order.
Yeah.
The order's gonna be CSR, the Tech Advantage, T Strengthen, the Disarm Counter Plan, the OIRA, Antitrust Counter Plan, the states counter plans, the CAPK, midterms, MQD. Does anyone need that again?
I just got it, but I'm good.
Good with the order.
Okay.
Okay. Is anyone not ready?
First on TSR, it's adopted empirical statistics prove that workers care about corporate images with reflecting identity and a deviation from TSR containment of DAC work requests that change on Hagen, Crane, and Alaprenti. The plan increases the psychological benefits of workers, incentivizes workers to accept a wider wage of wages and consumer preferences due to spur and social responsibility, and whose corporate preference and increased consumer buying that's working in Alaprenti. And corporate social responsibility fuels existential unsustainable business practice, paint societal function, confusion, result in nuclear, environmental, and biological effects without weight on scenarios on scope. And B's Rosie 24 was dropped. B's key to pollination is essential to global food production. Mass starvation triggers resource wars, and CSR caps were also dropped through peace building, track to diplomacy, heated, prevent de-escalation. That's Ms. Manti. And yes, environmental collapse, corporate short-termism, domestic core planetary boundaries, and calculations try to stop global biosphere necessary for life. It's also warming, impact sea level rise, heat waves, and resource conflict culminated in habitable planet for intervention on tech. Emerging tech causes AI, BCI, engineering, quantum computing, or banking past guardrails make existential consequences inevitable. Tech firms are prohibiting employees from warming regulations about safety risks for bargaining itself for adverse attack develops and Buick and disinformation is existential. AI proliferates focus and wisdom and full course truth policy which inhibits pandemic recovery response by destroying public question who heats in and goes nuclear wrecks diplomatic resolution and deepfakes convince leaders that attacks are imminent high pressure scenarios which cause first strike US no go over China giving launch and roaring parts of this book on downturn and other AI good carps are solved by the app and are a net benefit to the criminal cap socially responsible AI and is inevitable in nuclear escalation through better training is a conflict recipient in industry channels that build model of nuclear risk calculation in mind. Their evidence assumes that AI is regulated and not we're racing towards deregulation now on T. We need a author said that a increase in rights has to become over other nations with the app makes bargaining come before managerial control that's acts and BCSR is permanent conditional employment that's improperly strengthened now that's Crane 24. The corporate industry convinces social substance CSR's public statement with the player will give it to the bear farmers and a part of compensation benefits and use to retain and track and retain workers. The brand becomes a part of the compensation and working condition and fantastic vacuums on arbitrary and voids positional competition and counter interpretations for making collective bargaining rights include both mandatory and permissive subject matter that's Job 20 and index strength CBR for men develop the scale based measures captured legal strength comprehensively the strength of CBR in which bargaining is prohibited but not require employer negotiate employer retain discretion taking unilateral action and duty without a resolution and with arbitration and order of increasing practices and treat as continuous and refer one out flexibility to purposes of discord and indicate overwhelm with variety negative advantage including block infinite view the K and above 50% and 2 resolutional predictability the Sasha defines speech rights and speech law not CBR which doesn't define what it means to strengthen always a starting point of private arbitrary limits kill fairness and 3 functional limits, A, CAPK states counterplane midterms, A, NLRB, trade-off is content process, give guarantee to interrupts in every need of unity, answer down employment line, solvency, advocate, any other words substantially in the U.S. check, otherwise they link their own obviously have to be every sign, and prefer reasonability, A, good is good enough, anything else because of reach of bottom and subject crowd, and disarm counterplane, no, evidence that disarm is happening now, just do the affirmative, not counterplane solves according to the app, and no disarm or nuclear weapons is punctually delayed because it's added by the counterplane, and no, IRA, do both prove the counterplane, or IRA gets overlooked and presented as independently zero to the benefit this power, 7, 8, 2021, although no official accounting or inventory, the agency guide is talking to thousands of diseases, capacity, desire to renew all confined to documents to consider substantially significant OIRA did not review guidance Bush executive ordered extending OIRA review that's later rescinded by Obama. Trump instituted another executive order which President Biden and revoked in his first day in office. Only clear certain rights reshape worker and employer practices historic and policy 24 CSR policy more likely to rise associated with unions and the rights of both settings and reduce the firm's cost of credibly committing to CSR objective the main mechanism and feature CSR that firms commit to objective that doesn't be out the USFD false or durable fetus key otherwise Republican signal is Kelly 24 Project 2020 loaded with anti-union cuts billions of workers struggle in order to organize unions. Republicans do not care about workers have countless opportunities and each time done the opposite. Republicans are focused on their small slice working class voters and unionize the rest and prefer to do the plan at the end of the process counterplan or supply to every other counterplan that's L 20 for future uses that should expressing advice. Speaker thinks it's a good idea. We're talking about action in the future. Countering is subject and should press attention verb and no spillover doesn't count. Listening and OR rulings in other areas if they only found OIRA in this incident canceled the act of Congress reform is in cheat ensure certainty and on antitrust. Perm do both. Perm do the counterplan if it results in social bargaining. Perm do the applicable restriction of bargaining and competitive and the plan text plus United States government should hold the restriction on bargaining, and antitrust fails. It's 23. The mayor passed American Power Public Holder was weak. Antitrust enforcement, antitrust settled state facts, and because it loves the state, I hate it to be less violent. Courts are finding the Sherman claimed in FTC, moving forces suffer defeats courts back on their own beliefs, and no benefit doesn't deliver other uses of antitrust political barriers. Last ex-president all block and uncertain zero cards that antitrust relates to pro-social bargaining, and on it's uncertain zero cards that proposer is anti-competitive merger, which is an attack to pro-social bargaining because it's the capacity of good employers to contain managerial messages and absolve terminal impact from social responsibility, but caps the impact on the state's counterplan. 1, prohibitive both by providing political cover. 2, the powder can. 3, preemption of the NLRA. This address 24 federal law
Read that in the one I see.
read that in the one I see. And
Cross-apply preempted because it's
conditionalizing voter encourages running up when he was scored kills fairness by suing to EC strategy coverage over substance enforcing constitutional and providing no cost option to incentivize quality research to solve that off they can take when we period or third and to the counterplan. Any combination of place should is permissive, not mandatory. That's words of phrases 202 words used in regular presented as a recommendation, not mandatory and only clear. Certain rights reshape worker and employer practices.
We've read that cross-apply
Cross-apply from both or and come to the plan at the end of the process. I already read that too. And Congress won't listen. This makes 17 states interested are ignored. Congress said little read subject to when 2 conflicts states can lobby, but no one explained why majority would listen. If you have to care about promoting state power, courts enforce preemption, not second guess consistently change state law must give way. No spillover federalism exacerbates policy differences and structurally disfavored policy or experimentation. Scorebush 22 proponents assess pillars of state policy reverberate on more troubling role of federalism. Source of veto points hold back democracy causing policy statements quote bias federalism advantage to the money political research that advance wealthy reduce investment in state influence and politics. They do not let policy differences between state greater than 10 generations ago. Only democracy become in laboratorism, authoritarianism, and And Concon fails legal challenges and runaway. This Reisenberg 18. Nothing to prevent him to expanded or lead to runaway. Special interests open to constitution, gerrymandering, no rules to contain or respect legal disputes. Nobody have clear authority, opening chaos and battles, threaten democracy and process on Congress applications and counterplans that result in the plan or voter rate versus civil wedding which kills house and clearance on the cap K. Framework weigh the plan against a competitive alternative. Anything shifts the debate on predictability which restores class and fairness and municipal state supported Purdue creating a plan economy isn't comparable with restoral social unions to ensure worker control for the general good and improve the app and all other than instances in the absolute occasions responsibility reorients capitalism away from sole profit maximization which crafts short-termism, sustainability and democratizes firms and solves disease through tight regulation on case one conceded and economic growth and decentralized innovation solve existential risk as Army 25 decentralized innovation for to be effective against the dodgers of theater of economic balance to sort of resistance to this answer of economic complexity and opportunity driven approach to be more effective innovation institutional change and entrepreneur the driver social mobility achieving prosperity prerequisite to long-term perspective. Once innovation generate return they give birth to new markets to create prosperity and every metric indicates growth is reducing overconsumption enabling environmental rebalance fully into 22 global tree canopy cover humanity in the process withdrawing a chance of dying natural catastrophe decline by 99% buildings are better constructed farming practices include rising crop yields fish farming average CO2 emissions per dollar have declined by 41% getting better at saving fresh air profit movement compels companies to decrease use of natural resources per dollar output to produce ever increasing ever fewer resources and the alternative failed rendition to full worker ownership requires civil war. This Harris 3 capitalist custody and respective relinquish control and no capitalist society ever liquidated substitute to think anyone achieve socialism not achieve for complete revolution to an equal civil war across the globe without catastrophic upheaval of capitalism remain completely in control. Nuclear World War III that's like 17 a war in America not in America publicly events and battle many will be able to in China Russia no and others with third world war with multiple nuclear powers will follow. There be no winners and no means of the alternative is Trumpian dictatorship. This will 23 to overcome economic system and create a slight chance of power could alleviate a dictatorship is unrealistic to do companies it calls for tyranny and prefer decentralized decision making economies endlessly complex as do 24 infinite interested to first knowledge and top down approach and operating and needed efficient decision making effective system of uncertainty and adaptability decentralized decision making individuals explore new tech releases and discover novel solutions cannot be predicted market predicted on midterms.
Real quick.
On cap their cross-check on the alternative is lies. Needle clearly said that evolving capital and centrally planning the economy is key to entirely reshape market fake it should be alter voter making being an app impossible because it can shift out of deficits on midterms. One other issues outweigh this President Cooper 3 25 points to American police American action again around too far voters are worried about affordability and capital weakening labor market and renewed inflation and Republicans face the liabilities to try to maintain the House at a higher constant cascade through the economy meaning wars of fallout can come closer to election day and inflation is expected to rise with gas prices long-term interest rates have been risen pushing up on loans and employers had 92,000 jobs or and CSR is unpopular with Republicans is formally 25 business leader balancing CSR policy against 50% voters who back Trump and splitting the program Trump banned DEIs listed to squeezing environmental social and governance objective out of business practice pressure to drop policies have been so great and they hate unions as bad as 25 GOP support for labor union plenty just 40% of voters who approve of unions bargaining unions Golden Dome was already funded and bipartisan. This move concerned February 130. The bipartisan effort to reach the compromise and military appropriation bill passed with 2026 base budget. The bill covers Golden Dome in decades away. That's done in 25. The dome required massive scale and be decades away. Faces deep challenges and no can't solution squad. To take a decade indicative of challenges constructing an system to fight missiles not helped by tech advances. And on MQD, Congress clearly doesn't link it's about administrative authority. But the plan gives us Andres 24, assault and admin governance, court demand clear congressional authorization and no terminal impact. This House at 22. There's no planetary boundary, biodiversity, spatial heterogeneity, and lack of interconnected continental interconnectivity, introduce smooth change of response scores below planetary boundary range, disruption unlikely to hurt tipping point, and no point did England experience collapse, and all cause every other country to do CCS. Impact is about the general, the impact of CCS overall, and no link the plan is passed by Congress, which gives them explicit authority over what the NLRB does, and MQD, or yeah.
Great. Will, is every card you sent out?
I'm sending right now, sorry. The con and both the MQD cards are sent.
Are you decent?
Yes.
Sent now.
Advantage 2, friendly AI good is a net benefit to the perm. Where do you think you've heard evidence that says that the alt gets rid of friendly AI?
We think that specifically friendly AI is only a result of workers being able to regulate AI directly within a
Okay,
capitalist
the
system.
counterplan makes, so the alt makes it so that workers
The
have
alternative
control
does
over everything.
central planning from the government. That's top down, which means it's impossible because government officials do not have the expertise to regulate tech. Means even under your alternative, innovation runs
The
wild and causes
CAP
extinction because they literally do not
The
have the expertise to
read
regulate.
evidence that says, quote, growth is reducing overconsumption overwhelmingly. Why do you think this doesn't contradict every corporate unsustainability claim made in the 1MC?
Because specifically corporate irresponsibility is causing extinction now because of a growing lack of expertise that is key. It used to be that the government is able to regulate technologies.
Okay,
Just
just
to
the
clarify,
card is not
the
about
tubby evidence
governmental
there-
regulations.
The tubby
it's
evidence
about-
there is about capital not being intrinsically related to ecological destruction.
wait,
the reason why
that's-
interventions like the plan are
That's
good.
totally
Yeah.
untrue.
It
Like,
says it is
that-
net decoupled. We think the plan is key to get there all the way. But the point is it disagrees with
It
the
says
Nieto
that
and the
growth
Grover
is,
evidence.
quote,
for those ones.
reducing overconsumption. Like, it's not that growth is.
Yeah. It's reduced net overconsumption. The plan gets
Okay.
to
The
the point
also
affirmative
read
text
hard-
is far more
You
specific
also
than
read a
reducing
card, Ernie
overconsumption.
is status quo descriptive and says that growth will solve every existential risk. You've said that it's barreling us toward existential risks. Can you remedy this?
It's about
Like, this
one
is
that's about
literally
the F.
positive.
It's about the F. Yeah, it's about
Well, okay,
CSR
what-
and the importance.
okay,
It's importance of
wait,
redirecting
literally-
in decentralized
Why do you
innovation
think this
towards
card is
social
not
good.
status quo
Yeah.
descriptive? Where does it say anything about the plan?
Specifically, it's saying that
It
opportunity.
says
it's
decentralized
saying,
innovation has already proven to be effective. Like, this is
No,
clearly
no,
about-
no. It
Why is
says
it
it's literally after the highlighting, public policy responses
Okay,
to crisis
sure,
and
after the
attempts to
highlighting,
minimize systemic risk by limiting growth. I mean, we could re-clarify the highlighting.
Okay,
It's
this
clearly
is
not about
clearly-
status quo initiatives.
This is clearly about this one. The midterms DA. The other issues you read are about affordability and a weakening labor market. What do you think is not overcome by the plan?
Neither of those
Like
are
the-
related to the F. I'm going to be so real with you.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we read evidence, the Abbott evidence in the 1NC says that Republicans will campaign on the plan as a redistributive policy for GOP economic messaging.
It literally
Why
is
do you
not.
think
It is literally workers get to bargain over environmental
What
issues.
card
It
do
is-
you have?
Our
that
evidence
answers
is
Okay, what argument of the 2AC do you think answers the messaging link? Which we
yeah, specifically the CSR card, which is far more specific than anything you were going to read in the blog.
Okay,
That says
where-
specifically Republicans hate CSR, consumers hate CSR when it's incorporated into corporations
Okay,
now because
so-
they see it as woke and environmentally sustainable, which they don't like.
Dome already funded. This
Yeah.
card says that we should be commended for passing introductory narrative within the appropriations. Why do you think that this is fully funded?
Yeah, because it's within appropriations. It is already funded. That
There's
is
an
funded.
introductory narrative, like within
Yeah,
the
Democrats
discussions
voted
over.
for it. Democrats just voted for it.
Okay,
That's
we said
the-
that
Appropriations
there is a
bill
larger
passed
majority
is
to counter it
the
from
card.
being actually included. Okay.
6:54.
Is everyone good for an order?
Yeah.
Okay. NQD decide? Oira counterplan? Disarm / if and only if counterplan? Antitrust counterplan? States? Midterms? Then CSR intent. Okay, panel's good. Counselor.
Yeah, here, let me open the doc, actually.
Okay.
Okay.
MQD concede no link, not going for it. Oira concede perm and no spillover, not going for it. Reject the argument, not the team. Disarm concede the perm, but they drop mad souls all war. And international cooperation prevents environmental collapse. And pandemics are causing extinction. Tag drop, no new answers. Antitrust concede perm, and antitrust fails. That makes solving both advantages impossible because monopolies guarantee social irresponsibility and rogue tech. AF is not solved because it's about increasing antitrust remedies, which they concede hierarchy enough states. Kick states alone, kick federalism, only extending CONCON. It solves the whole case, circumvents Congress, has the states ratify the plan. As a constitutional amendment, that's Andreas and Cooper. 2AC didn't say does not link to the net benefit. 2AC did not say links to the net benefit, so it certainly avoids if the result is binding change of federal law. Style 20 convention proposed change those become law and ratify the states of treaty space. The CONCON by the conventions governed by laws. It's the strongest possible signal. Gold sign 88 amend the Constitution for practice small reasons and have conscious raising effect. And signal clear change for passing eligibility in the most thorough way. This allowing debate simply Congress and judicial action courts would be empowered to ensure the Congress. Here's any other mechanism fails. Q24 constitutional authority limits core environmental such as how the interpretation applies to bring change, market change, sufficiency. Even if the plan is better, the counterbalance viewed in relative to the status quo, it looks like a huge change. No one cares about the legalese. Do both links that includes federal action and allows Trump to take credit for it. Do counterbalance severs USFG voting issue for negative ground and clash. No preemption. State action changes federal law. This was contextualized. So states alone, condo is good. 1 neg flex counterbalance is speaking less. Trump bumpers in tiny cases. 2 ask condo. Fake plans. 2 AC pivots. Infinite prep requires multiple option. 3 logic counterbalance bad. Does not prove the plan good. That underpins arc evaluation. 4 arbitrariness. No res basis causes goalpost shifting and kills clash. 5 innovation. Risk aversion. Native fallbacks for safety and testing. 6 limits requiring CBR, Fed key, etc. Aligns the research balance and forces better advantage construction. 7 ideology. Case and counterbalance at the same one. See unlock flexibility. Concede reasonability from topicality, as well as their counter-interpretation, which solves AF-flex. Dispo can't solve it. It's undefined slides into uncondo. The NAG only gets one strategy because different net benefits means AF on resumption. Process forks terms turns research skew and level T decides procedural hiding framework case. Diminishing utility capture offense and straight turns and apple. If it's the best option, the delay perm does not avoid midterms. It allows Trump to take credit. We also hit a delay counterline under midterms. The 2EC dropped it, so they should not get to cross-apply permutations. Anything else lets them turn the 2EC into a puzzle and sandbag in the 1 error, which destroys negative ground regardless. Even if you cross-apply it, it severs should. Sawyer 17 Oregon economy should its expediency resolve. Webster's 22 to resolve is an earnest decision substantial. Worth 64 Vila President. Their card said should is uncertain, not immediate. Preferred delay justifies science fiction, destroys timely education, and spikes every decide. No offense theory, time sensitive advantages. Check abuse. Certainty key is fake. It writes the plan into the Constitution. It requires a super majority of states and explicitly disclaim federal opposition. If that doesn't send a strong enough message, nothing does. Actual policy outweighs signal. If funding changes and companies to the public will quickly get the message. It's offense. The plan is worse. Federal action is dysfunctional. Presumption. Kel 20. Event the unprecedented gridlock. Congress views incapable of delivering results. Seems the world system as rational dysfunctional. Congress usual that also solve challenges. Perm plan after process is intrinsic, or it's severs done above. Now Congress can't block. It's not their authority. The counterbalance of state-led convention that exclusively requires ratification by 3/4 of states and avoids Congress as Cooper. It bypasses federal approval. Upping 18 to CONCON bypass Congress amendments. 2/3 of states could be and the limit of special convention would be ratified by 3/4. They say the the Federalism Court. It does not apply the Riestenberg evidence, no runaway fiat solves we specified limited in the text. The convention only covers the plan, nothing else. It'll be enforced by the DOJ and Congress. That's Cooper, empirics prove, Waldron 21 research convinced it is literally possible to spiral regional conventions discuss the single toss of action of subsets has never been a runaway August fabricated by conservatives nowhere whatsoever. The courts will oversee it. Rogan 18 opponents appear to be exaggerating, planning a new constitution while the item is calling for that. The sheets of runaway remote SCs and insurmountable layer. The court now delegates have to get the requirement. Ratification checks. It takes 38 states to agree. They'll veto anything other than the plan. Counterlines that could result in the plan are good. Obviously, it's key to negative flexibility because any counterline could result in the plan via the butterfly effect. Their interpretation is arbitrary. Index negation theory, which is the logical crowds out substance that kills predictability, competition, and deficit check abuse midterms. It outweighs one magnitude oral and missile defense, adding 7 decades of mad forcing a Russian new weaponry, like ASATs and hypersonics, resulting wars involve more nukes, making our war bigger than theirs. 2 time frame, Russia and China strike before the system comes to the line. Early 25 for Russia and China believe the use of building NDT R2 hit the U.S. prior coalition nuclear relationship happen this wonderful movie, where this partial MD3 controls the case, solves and turns CSR. Jackson 25, Trump passed taxi voice for China corporation, set up telling his weapons democratic conflict right in front of business and release turns corporate AI Steinman 2.8 Trump's to harnessing modern tech leaders have direct control over the beliefs of citizens. The U.S. has built mechanisms for data collection and surveillance, extending biometric surveillance has new facial recognition AI, and has a musket to critical control to the intimidating opposition question that politicized law enforcement turns preemptive strikes. That was the one in C. Now 2EC 1 through 3, the plan flips the midterms pre-distributed policies. Still the Dem signature issue. They're so salient they can flip even committed partisans. That enables the GOP to rebrand itself as pro-worker, poaching working class independence and swing districts. That's added. Embracing unions enables Trump to outflank Dems on anti-corporate populism. The links unique to overwhelm other issues and clinches the election. Star this card, Lux 26. Right now, the political dynamic of the Dems. The problem is Trump flexible enough to craft a populist affordability package if he sees rebranding the fighter gets like business. Dems face serious danger. I've never seen a political environment as populist. Life remains difficult. Incentives to blame CEOs, working class voters, and progressive views who are separated. These are highly pro-union. Trump recognizes and just rhetorically Dems should emphasize unions, working class which stagnation remains central. Dems remain for more critical messages than accountable than Trump, whose record reflects it concentrated. Well, the plan enables an affordability agenda, even over non-labor issues, including affordable housing, healthcare, most and other critical issues. That's 1EC Block and Sachs 20, and big tech. That's an independent link. Schneider 326, 78% in favor of federal reckless having hand policy partisan capitalist midterms. The bad guys that are in this line with populism. This is shared by Trump's AI order, which is believe that exceptional populist protections where Trump sacrifices populist credentials. This cozies up to tech moguls, political stance of AI will grow. Opportunity rate based on the party metal losing AI harms unions. Key Seagull 24 union back. You could make it out statistical selection over 14 million or members when unions start across and turn off this as single candidate line for not giving authenticity to voters, not just powerful lunch connections that touch unions represent large amounts of voters in battleground states. Unions will especially swing states. There are other issues. Card is wrong. Iran is wrong. Narrowing 26. In terms of midterms, rules and martial law midterms are 8 months away. There's lots that can happen overwhelming the midterm. Will be impacted by the economy at that time. I don't think this conflict is going to be by November. The affordability is our point. It was nuked and cross-links. They say CSR is unpopular. It spills over, and affordability is key because it will follow through with further union messaging than just CSR, and our 2026 card just totally mogs theirs. They say, hey, unions, right-wing economic populism can peel off the votes of the many. Positive 24 Republican carry out a populist attraction in support of workers, in support of labor organization, fill an empty box of American politics, purchases of market skepticism. They could peel off working class votes, recruiting the wealthy, exchanging money with few votes, and the idea of reconciliation republicanism. And workers' interest is conceivable. Trump's Republican class of populists working for side with corporations. There's a unique opening now. Press 25 voters and unions back down to gaps know that enable Trump to win in the Michigan, Pennsylvania, Republic. Begin to see labor's allies and acting the funds to solidify the line. Then Lucar's work to review the Republican Party, so home Trump's not passing just the wrongs. Not underestimate the appeal of populists when working class voters down. Whether the Dem will fight for them, this election will hinge on the working class. Altamari 10-8. Every election has covered the demographic. This time, working class in 2024. The most competitive house users are trying to the GOP's hold on working class voters by raising populist policies. Last thing, the customer is wrong. Dem roll back the Golden Dome. The House sets the budget. Blue Reds won't fund it because it's Trump's pet project. That's Cox Dem win towards it. Harrison 25 reconciliation is only possible under unified government. Trump uses either cheaper the midterms. Reconciliation is the only option. The Congress does not programs either violent. Programs most rely on reconciliation funding are vulnerable to space services with its budget for reconciliation intended for GD. A Dem Congress will kill the Dome. Harrison 25 greatest strategies can see the name looking at the divide of superstar race partisan backlash proving possible. Trump's vote is worse than close to me. Just personal brand the main markets will raise Congress or future Congress will terminate it before it and bear fruit. It needs more money. Bowman 25 billion and funding will be just down payment favor by division funding if GD falls. In short, they say decades away. That's wrong. Host 1028. Trump has already appropriated to start the Golden Dome. Deems highest priority. Golden Dome Supreme Court could be safe for language rest of revolutions. Lockheed Martin is planning a 2028 demonstration for the most challenging portion. SBI would demonstrate performance. AEI has estimated total cost range to 253.6 million. The perception alone costs, which is on the overview now. The first advantage, the plan is circumvented. Pretty sure they dropped this. Penalties for violating bargaining rights are next to none. It is more cost effective for corporations to break the law instead of complying with the plan. Enforcement itself is under resourced and lack effective standing. That's Stansbury. I'm not reading any new cards. They totally dropped this. No new answers. It causes one-year sandbagging, which kills Flash. This independently saps the reject, try or die. It incentivizes them to read floating impact scenarios with no chance of solving it, which discourages good research. Everything else is solved by the counterlines returned by the K. There's no B's impact or 20 B's S and X related debunk is not true. I didn't say it. Recently we found that even if B's were a loss and other pollinators, which like there's not production, crop production, no reason to think it's existential. Their war impact is never says nuclear pandemics. No one says it's existential. An environment we can adapt. It's global, totally inevitable. And the F is a drop in the bucket. Other advantage. Emerging tech is fake. Authors that overinflate the risk and lack of understanding of technological functions. Adoption challenges, real world deficits. There's a wide range of limitations. But benefits cause impact disillusionment that are further warped by the media. That's proven over. There's no AI nuclear use impact. Human error is likely. They're prone to false positives. Political and emotional bias. Only AI can process bolts of data and accurately predict calculations that's cox human loop solves and ensures rational decision making. Irresponsible use by terminating malevolent systems. It is not an add-on because our evidence says that the current models they're being trained on is good enough to not cause war. Here's more evidence. Bird at 25 will AI the balance power key conditions influence countries perceived enough of industry to calculus. Leaders believe they have fleeting opportunity of course diplomacy likelihood of countries is relatively low. Will AI probably prevent wars unlikely leaders need to expect the opposition to face significant uncertainty. Expect first mover change to difficulty to have become solar ultimate important preemptive attacks. Leaders notifies large than the media additional strikes. Lastly, no bad AI. Their evidence is media warp fear mongering that ignores computational rational checks to a rogue system, checks it every step of the way, and intervening actors check, which is the shade evidence dropped every new warrant, so no new answers.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. First, on the card you said the star, the Lux evidence, it says that wage stagnation remains central to workers. What mechanism is there for which the AF increases wages?
So the AF gives Trump and the rest of the GOP an opening to rebrand themselves as pro-union. They don't have an ability to do that now, but passing a popular policy.
Do you have a card that says that Trump passing a policy that does not increase wages would be able to be spun as increasing wages?
Well,
Like-
it doesn't just have to be the plan alone that increases wages. Our evidence says that Republicans will follow through, rebranding themselves as pro-worker and implementing other policies to show that they are actually pro-union.
Why don't they just do this
know
now?
that it's
Why is the AF key to them rebranding themselves as pro-worker? If
Well,
they
they
want to win the
don't have a
midterms, why don't they
blueprint.
just do it now?
Yeah, they don't have a blueprint. They're not unified around a pro-worker message. Only the plan gives them the sort of.
How does the plan
momentum.
give them a blueprint to be
Because
pro-worker when
yeah.
it does not
There's
increase
also
wages?
nothing for them to campaign on.
Sure, I'll move on. Your only plan specific card that I can gauge is the AI regulation popular with who?
It's the same.
It says
voters,
70%
the
of
same
voters.
who care about affordability and job security. They're
Can
afraid
you
of
point to
AI
me?
taking
Can you
their
point
jobs,
to a part in the
positions,
card that
etc.
says that?
The entire card just says that
The entire card. Can you draw a line?
Issue. I'm pulling up the exact card.
Mhm.
Yeah, our evidence says that the reason why AI is unpopular is it serves economic elites at the expense of populist consumer protections, i.e., lower class and middle class voters who don't think that the Republicans
lower class
have their
and middle class
interests in mind
voters.
because they have decked affordability.
Yeah, lower class and middle class voters who will not have their wages increased as a result of the plan.
Well,
But
it's about messaging.
I'll move on to some stuff you said in case. After the no bees impact, you were reading a block. What was it when you were saying environmental impacts can be
So
adapted to?
In the 1AC, you read a bunch of floating impacts that's just like climate, biodiversity, ocean acidification. These things are all scary. Those things probably don't cause extinction. We can certainly adapt or implement measures to combat the tail end risks because you don't have a card saying that they're existential.
Adaptation based on what?
Like we can build sea walls or move to put. So if the sea level rises in an area, we can move.
Okay, sure, but how about just say warming generally, like non-sea level rising impacts. What would adaptation look like there?
Yeah, so if a certain food commodity goes scarce and your evidence thinks it would cause a food war, we could shift to other sources of food. This could you can name drop other ways that.
Okay, food's going scarce, so we just invent new food.
Well, some types of food are going scarce. We
Sure.
just need other
On the AI advantage, you say models are good enough now, but our 1AC evidence indicated that Claude, which is being integrated to the military now, and ChatGPT said 95% of the time to launch a nuclear weapon in any conflict scenario. How is that sufficient?
So our evidence says whenever there's a new breakthrough, everyone is quick to hyperbolize and be like, this is the next big thing. This is going to be the tech that kills us all, and it never happens.
Yeah, it was that.
Oh. Okay, I'm good.
Anyway, I get
1 second, it's loading.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Catholic girls always we control every impact one planetary boundaries on this proper prioritize the environment, treating systemic clouds like biodiversity, less resources, and climate spending and resource wars that cause nuclear, biological, chemical, cyber, with a stroke, all potential 3 tech risk innovation, capital system, oxygen, data, representative environment, innovation, government, not these factories, company, government, corporation, programs, sustainability, survey, economic change, government, also go beyond increase tech requires adjusting recalls, like the gaps, international regulation, United States, that also disproves from the eyes and benefits of the for cognitive absolution is essential. Recently, the ownership is actually rating counter processors, opposite Google, environment, exchanges, so entity, no longer capable, show by being on the show, absolution, rating, terms of the revolution, government, going to several science, and so on, you'll remember, still providing machine, on the equal increase in numbers of expression of GeoDB 2C1 framework. The neck can win by disprove the economic theory proposing house offense through additive putting conditions. Prefer a conceit that the cap gets a core functional ability to outslaughters, neck out, only questioning knowledge, correction solves. There be a solution that capitulates to dominant ideology, especially through the effective writer, looking at policy, to show the open solve, so you're interested in policy, or what's your bad game, we have estimated legitimation, I'm the rather building power of the rapid system of provision, of also, independent to realize the rules of the new world, and Germany and the reason for celebration, and that's been a meaning impossible to see, is it Germany and the notable of this slaughter, the organization, the possibility, no clash of fairness, one link to Afghans to the planet, and economic theory is more limiting there, whereas encouraging workplace process accountability, who wants to see arguments, if a question check by only 4 economic systems, where 25 there are 4 attempts at economic system, and working, based on traditional 2 reciprocity, fiating on the fiating attitude, durability is more unfair. We should get to test the ship requires the effects of the Macy's fear limit and the Lamberton and 9 policy measure. Means of policy having to the theory and a server just for the policy and the technique of establishing means where resolutional and failure to counter fight means what neg on jurisdiction 3 defense fairness is internal only permanent and the only permanent impact is scholarship. If not, it's inevitable self-correcting. The choice of disparity stop neck flex out waste is the only functional limit. Uniqueness is shot. Makes the stats one eventually chooses one to see again. It's speak class proof to both fails. 1 for regulation DAs are but laser DAs in service philosophy. 2 mutually exclusive the all has all to party including the limits going to here 3 severance and have a moving target and seals negative advocacy should is managing not necessarily on the severance permanency. Code 2 that is on the reverse mandatory work should is a social means obligation to CBS work work should also to see them the responsible market is essentially CBS represent for maybe 2 target and centralized CNC regulators the all attributes to the third party negotiation harmonization and 72 and the single play labor the different blenders have measure and determination we should that's not collective bargaining DCC and 13 and CBS appropriate obligation I mean CNC is representative of the lawyers who and the bargaining in good faith independently should requires an effect 3 and the court including the addition to every cell interpretation include and logic that service by reaching collective bargaining prefer not to reach up with like to if it unpredictable asset advantages instead of license small changes carve outs fails 1 do both applies especially when we have a linking supposed to be on the planet 2 cannot solve 1 a infringement and illusion contributes the alternative trends that blend markets with democratic control which is impossible it can never happen. 2 corruption success shows the all cause 25 down with logical economic influences so the other social system global market social matter like advocacy replacing social with the cap market relation every more analogy those who succeed on the market and like so own virtues cut the card own virtues now after not self can conceive the link the way to reconcile the competing interests of capital worker securities exchange by facilitating capital's rejection. The reason corporations and collective bargaining is because its flexible nature enables them to make marginal cost exchanges while protecting their bottom lines, ensuring the continual reproduction of neoliberalism that's pressing CCR ensures sustainability by letting governments avoid blatant and apparently Trump got solvency. Both 2060 yes, I'm not never going to work for having the literature and which the period complained Trump is strong and getting more positive by making companies responsible for recruiting companies what do you go to radio intervention prevention fiction trouble using it for the regulation happens or is not delivering other for society another issue not going to change market for social quality fishing already enabled business as usual exxon and then was actually because the shirt of the different passengers able to use the discovery of the CSU and the solution you're watching religion which was working thing destroy the area evidence and sustainability defense. Everyone is seeing factors predicated on profit-driven short-termist the business practices virulence toward extinction which directly contradicts growth sustainable or self-extinction or voting presumption since their evidence is status quo descriptive so corporations are already being checked backtracking if it's in that ground and cause intellectual swap. Irony is obviously status quo descriptive. It says that decentralized innovation has already proved to be effective and I quote throughout history market-based opportunity-driven approaches have been effective which proves it should be struck regardless. Growth is worse. Growth is worse. Greenwashing above proves that their information are flawed and socialist innovation or their innovation fails. Single in terms of the innovation target and then directly growth that maximizes restriction but little rule even when innovation large underpanded that prevent dissemination be accelerated innovation by pulling resources out of the corporation of the market pulling and reducing duplication innovation collaborate another expanded entrepreneurship focusing from public and percent innovation reducing BBC markets assets arbitrary no decoupling police 4 years old decoupling is physically possible and quickly distributed determined by CCN face out the feasibility planning land based on structural theory, agree with like the ocean where warming the global scale and permanent environmental living in growing economy, for the absolute becoming sliding on that mission, 35 articles for every observer, becoming not resulted in productions necessary. The alternative is a planning economy that demolishes the corporatist model of employment and fully uses social needs to rationalize central planning and decentralized feedback mechanisms that fulfill the role of labor systems like the plan solving the entirety of the cases. That solves the case. Socialism securely mitigates planetary boundaries, which is the only impact in their Ventura evidence, and also solves war because of one NC observer. The Civil War DA is about conflict in the process of reaching the outlaw, be a fleet on a government ship treated like legislation, or the slice of the plan 6 people would hit corporate sustainability for the same reason. Leading support now by Mondavi election, and it's not. There's no impact thought by Jan 6. No Trumpian dictatorship. The work goes down to attitudinal inherency, good faith, whole government enforcement overcomes that, and means that you cannot want a job, or at least equal to the plan. The all jobs, efficiency, information deficit. You don't to work represent rational allocation from the district for the over percent over protection. The show on the crisis that maintain as a single that's single, and also in a really profitability investment competition and instructor work and the preventive full use of resources. As a optimal comment equality of information for reporting to capacity info, shared by marketability, momentum market bureaucracy, overdose activities. No mindset shift is a policy crossed by reasonability that cause substance crowd out, which kills education just by rhetoric. Anything happy is a key functional limit. Reject the argument of the team, go back out to transition boards. There is strong support now for new alternatives. Cali and more easier to measure and what the kind of race our culture and they create societal ethos of the system functioning. I mean, people, John, this is pretty also from the electricity model of the democratic economy, operating for victory, having records, we have had in water, genuine 40 opportunities, also that they have around the absorbs or I'm not recognized myself. Listen to these and the people that will often power the child kids together we can share the grocery chases of Appalachia and Boston, LA, Mississippi, a financial station, the dominate our culture, if we're in society, capital, and the requires to be accepted as moralities and in mindset, versus the losers. We begin to win. There's also no terminal impact transition where sustainability assumes it's taking over the government and shows peace.
704.
704. Basically just yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Besides the T stuff on the webinar, is there anything there?
I don't think so.
325. Order is going to be actually judges here. Yeah. Order is going to be advantage 2, advantage 1. The like mad stuff on the disarm counter plan, the con counter plan, the midterms DA, then the capitalism critique.
Machine see it. Or I extended it up.
Yes. Cool. That's it.
Okay.
Cool. Is anyone not ready? Double drop the deepfakes impact and height their situation and causes launch of warning postures that arose information which overwhelms man. It's not about rogue AI because deepfake pressuring decision makers in a crisis definitely cause extinction, art incessant, mass people annihilation in all global hotspots. Also drop pandemic, cause extinction, spread to global dependence, or engineer path on cloud society, kill humans after corporate, responsibility, that's all. That's what about clearance, independent disinfo bases, these drugs and possible mass AI, help global connectivity, trust in governments, and understand tech proliferate bad actors, reduce accidental pandemics, and see there's no general e-tech impact, not apply to any of our specific scenarios, especially given the deepfakes advantage 1, not advantage 1. Now, you know what was not dropped? Dropped the only thing that UAC needed to say, which was that it is private corporations, they can bargain down the negotiated wages, independently terms of midterms this act, but because no one to receive this program. But independently, I don't lose on supervision, don't use for corporations to backtrack. We also drop other examples of reinstating workers, which would still certainly be able to solve the tech advantage because their speech being crafted status quo that the mixed evidence was extended on advantage 2. And then actually extended warrant for white corporations don't want to bargain over it, which zeros out all of that, any zeros all about that anyways, especially and also not apply the tech workers that unique pressure now. We're already trying to organize with the plan to sort of ban them and reinstate them if they come back to affect durable fiat as per all the stuff that they try to get around durable fiat on the caveat which we can cross play. Now we can see that the environment always gets adapted to. Not going for any of the scenarios obviously solves most of the impact on the critique. There's no external impact, but they drop the war impact gap and unemployment by skill that peace, corporations, engage attraction, diplomacy, promotes human rights, norms, peace building, and the civil society war, otherwise goes nuclear drop, disadvantage, they all go to the map. No, it doesn't check the AI stuff. This is launch warning. This is the disarm stuff. We got to launch warning on play emergency software, accidental escalation via the advantage 1. Now go to the state campaign, turn through both. They just read a bunch of evidence that it raises the consciousness. We play normally receive as Republicans, they cannot get credit, which clearly shields the midterm dissent. I'm not hearing word for it linking to it. Solvency. This is yes runaway. Their answer was that they will veto not given the Catholics for no place for rights, no authority nor body. It's clear that undermines long for democracy. No enforcement Congress doesn't actually have a say since it's not included in the fiat, and they conceded that Congress hates labor, so they won't actually enforce them. That's why crosswise from the NGA count. Actually, they still have this applies a compound that says successful. The full evidence decades old. Full evidence decades old is symbolic and important, but doesn't assume a politicized process which spills over the full evidence of environmental statutes. Not labor isn't that described. And the process is plain, of course, wrong. That the case disables it sufficiently to follow one. No possibility of repeal. Yes, it is. It's Congress, but restraint is only pure. Yes, it is because it's Congress. Restraint is only pure. It's not. The status quo court can't oversee it. Otherwise, extend permanent accountability. Just that the courts are involved means it is plan plus, which the independent GGs, the government, that's all we're reaching for. Now, Congress voter up to his ability to off moral hazard. It's not the 164 contract and breaks the day or this will solve all the campus, but allows that supposed to cost like this. It's not key to flex. This will check it's above block. Always giving them strong time and this check econ politics, midterm reading different advocacies around solve until the great multiple counterparts no from the back to make by the topic means no fairness or loss and only one in death research, which is drop from T. Alcon was wrong. I saw by good case debating and research UC last point for offense is obviously far worse. They can read new counterparts in the 2 and flood the zone, skill research class logic is and it justifies endless for PC punch choking fiat balances that yes, balance has formed counter has been wrong in a long time. And this should be predictable, no risk version. You can still read all those versions better than killing research in the first place. It's got to go in depth. That's all the research standards, case counterparts reading both versus double terms and doing it ourselves with some debatable reasonability and work reasonable over probably 20 conditional advocacy post plan taking and also the delay counterparts prove that crossed from TV. This is in an abusive story. Abusive story. Dispo. No, not if that's good. It's self contradictions. And no, we can just you can produce specific planks in order to get our part picking issues and not bad method. It's now midterm this that. Yeah. Now counter at the top. Yes, we cross like a bunch of things. Future only. It's just by the permission. System lawyer drop. It's future actions. I think happens only. It's resolutionally contextual. It's mandatory. Still so they're often that they'll try to make a daily or vision. Also crossed by keeping secrets cannot result in the plan or voter from the NGA counterplan takes out both the counterplan but like this terrible standard with the which is not competitive. No mediation here, just like any terrible advantage counterplan. And also or world peace down with the CP international, which is less logical, not key to ground balance and set norms above. You don't have to float, you don't have because it's in the middle of a counterplan text. No link. The assets, midterm vertical social justice issues, not traditional working that economically focused voters care about. Concede perpetual credit that June sending from voters are hostile CSR programs as well. They have no part of this. The entire baseball legion that and the government hate unions the right somewhere class from like in the massive chance of the majority from the voters to just hurt some space and this betrayal anti folks and using that those CSR position undermines the base from decorating the formally and the way got all 20 guys safe at the values and CSR political rights don't actually develop like politicians CSR rates issue conscious rules the two democratic violations implementation rights equity base low screening value and shareholder proposals just in 25 sort of thing working focus on problem over corporate medical and security value reversing look after my failed shareholder level to social agenda not going to go to party championship tables from election social share with 25 to massive social system results bad name for Republicans simulated you should know the votes and you report the dominating of messing zero out on the plan but received as workers were outflanked is about affordability which plan wouldn't actually increase wages that's for all from case and drop to the 2 easy welcome tax 20 within a workplace not perceived as the net overall policy is and also lose the majority of Republican voters which outweighs and Democrats voting for Democrats son as no spin is relevant because the base cares about corporate power means if it trying to spin it is actually the link to a unique opening not about pro-social to know that the plan is to see this AI blue collar issues outweigh we think that's completely entirely irrelevant. Now, the House already passed by person already funded this no which takes up most of their arguments of once he comes is a question not predicted for reconciliation key of the usual process where they will act now and Harrison just said they don't like it, but they've literally already voted to fund it, which just proves that there will be trade up now with cap tag. All they need with Delta solvents, otherwise it's possibly negative. We get the plan to defend implementation key to class in the next step of like swooping trades after on 4 now, civil war is that no capital studies ever willing to liquidate itself means revolution for civil war. They have dropped spills over globally to China, which are unknown, who take advantage of weakness in order to start global nuclear war. The plan is a massive crackdown on the economy, which is expansion that fails. No more excessive fiat gulf shift relevance about private militias and backlash, no support. Now, this is mostly because so we're now for half the country, but the rest of it doesn't, especially not from business owners, who would be the ones to respond. As usual, the trade is relevance about private actors, no fiat. So that's, and that plus civil war, military security, private force, no worker buying limits. Military very fast, the future of the security force even more. Plus, the left article around the prefer war, it's almost the government overwhelming force. To be ready against the left, 73% of voters generated by Bob or Trump. I just try to literally does this by this woman, federal public level, and the news right now. I have never been twice, but twice like to be a house, and many climbs, small minority, conversation, talk to the global guns, performance right. And like I said, conflict minimize, means not much constraints any time. You go around certain structures, this law, security, activity, sustainability, all this was shot by the plan. We have resilient defense to most of it, but certainly solve all the crisis to produce opportunity for entrepreneurship and decent innovation and period of form. Trump and gut plans popular with corporations, cases to the scope of triple yet. But also that's no terminal impact to green washing, regardless of our tech innovations, is certainly solved by the plan, not the ultimate cause extinction. It's just all the way down at the second floor, you know?
So you know you're not to be.
Very once.
I mean, it's just such a long. It's not really, that's okay. I think I'll work. We don't have time for that.
Yeah, fair.
Sorry, so I think it's on the screen.
Everyone good for
Yeah.
Okay. States with condo. And then midterms. Actually, cap before all of that. Everyone good? Cap, concede framework explicitly. Condo does not prove that the plan is good, and they said weigh the applicant's uniqueness and they have to prove plan desirability. So Cap's an affirmative ballot. They do not do that. So conceding framework means that they do not go for conditionality because it does not prove the plan is a good idea. Because there's an infinite prior question that they've said is bad for class, which outweighs now conditionality. Now states concede the perm not going forward, but conditionality is good. Our interpretation is we get what we did. The global frame is arbitrariness, and 2AR must find the marginal increases in apple offense is worth sacrificing an entire round off a theory violation with no basis in the rest, nor any bright line whatsoever. This incentivizes crony theory proliferation and substance crowd out, which turns the offense zeros the benefit. The fair debate B neg outweighs multiple internal links. They make condo structural necessity. One blocks you, drop apps more for the 2AC, most internal links deficits, and trades don't appear until it's too late to win. One is set up to minimize negative offense. Kind of wants to reset that balance to deter sandbagging. Second, limits drop. It's necessary to force a defense of CBR, Fed key, etc., which ensures that the topic is sizable for the negative to engage in, which is key differentiation. Clash. Third is flexibility. App choices pervasive. Managing and meaningless plans. The negative get back in the game, but it turns app offense, 1C testing, teacher smarter advocacy construction to beat all negative offense, cultivate the highest quality 2ECs under breath and strategic pressure. The tiebreaker is innovation, risk preparation, frames negative choice, crushes fallbacks and allow creativity and ideological growth, but the lack of it crushes research and encourages myopic choices. 2 frames for the offense, 1 neg fairness and then clash outweigh app fairness and research. The 1C picks the locus of 8. Last week's persuasion versus block advantage. The topic is massive. With the topic is massive. Trump the people are breaking federal worker subsets, and Trump makes the status quo totally untenable. Second is breadth that always depth. The latter is inevitable. Over years with the debate, but introducing multiple worlds and cultivates nuanced education and teaches info processing. Dispo cannot solve neg flex. It lets them pick the block front load offense on our worst covered position, which destroys flexibility for the negative. They say no functional limits. Economy failed. Trump destroys it. It's thumped. Politics is dead because there's no political capital. Midterms loses to other issues. If the tweezy wasn't as bad as it was, and the block solves flexibility, not negative ground. So it cannot. The block does not. The block does not solve negative flexibility. Now they say case debating does not solve app condo, apps can more free, vague plan, sandbag, etc. And hide the best offense than 2AC. Also extend arbitrariness. Theory is infinitely aggressive. It crowds out substance that lets the app unilaterally redraw the bounds. Every debate, their only answer is it justifies world peace. Wrong. International fiat bad is resolutional because Russia and China should not go to war. Is an international counterplan. It's not an opportunity cost of resolutional decision making. If there's no research, offense we're better because risk aversion requires fallbacks. Research is inevitable due to competition, and fairness outweighs because debate is a game. There's no skew. Offense drop diminishing returns check, and skew is inevitable. We could have read 15 cheat interpretations or 20 dis has highlighted to shreds. Lastly, reasonability. Don't reject the team. It's arbitrary, overly punitive. The logical implication of their interpretation is unified rules or de facto dispo. Their offense is inevitable. From procedurals to and speed, inbound abuse is wrong. Still reject the argument that the team conduct was more abusive. It forces split to win or cross steps check. Just don't read a million case overviews or the highlighting cards check. Balance don't set norms proven by hundreds of content debates, including in Elan's. Dispo fails against after the most powerful choice to pick both the 1C and the block. You can never solve offense, but it exacerbates this by causing plank and process spam to force permutations. Now the state's counterplan. Or the midterm. Sorry. The delayed counterplan headshots the case. It does the plan after the midterm. They have no deficit, and they're getting crushed on competition. Any risk of the midterms instead must outweigh the case. Now, definitions are unwinnable. 1. Drop definitions of resolved and substantial. Both require immediacy. This is a jurisdictional prior question. 2nd, drop our standards. Delay justifies science fiction, kills all ground, and allows apps in the future, and kills econ politics and IRS and education. Delay prevents us from analyzing our immediate reality. Also, drop defense theory, time-sensitive advantages, check abuse. You can go for delay counterplan's bad, which is a sensible right line, and read advantages that are time-sensitive instead of longitudinal nonsense. They say should drop other definitions. Lastly, counterplans are result of the plan are good. 1. Flex. Any counterplan could potentially result in the plan. They just fire rejecting states because of following or advanced scope of ground second arbitrariness. There's no res basis for theory, which is on condo third as we need. We don't result in the plan because they dropped immediate action is a topical mandate. Now, Golden Dome outweighs deployment causes rampant arms using it provokes escalatory wars by limiting second strike capabilities. Dropped it outweighs on speed. Just that is instant. Brody says China and Russia strike first. And time frame outweighs you can only die once. And it also controls the case. The Jackson says Democrats will place environmental regs, progressive taxation, and reduce corruption by pro-business and big tech lobbies. This solves the case, so any risk of a link is enough. And a Republican went nukes it because they're chill about their environment with legal fossil subsidies, coal, oil extraction, pro-business favoritism, and let big tech run wild. Now, no other issues. Our unions are key and popular affordability. Where is your?
It's on Discord.
Just up the timer? No.
Yeah, that.
No, you're at 1:30.
Yeah,
No,
Okay,
keep going.
labor protection swing to the term one, worker-focused economic populism into massive union members, received as a total 180 from Trump's current anti-worker stance to be attributed to the policy party as a whole, and used as a platform for Republicans to rebrand, guaranteeing Democrats lose massive and essential swaths of their voting base. That's Abbott. That's specifically true. Of the plans anti-corporatism Dems are narrowly had Trump's team is to quote, politically flexible enough to pull affordability package out of their ass at any time. The plan grants them a concrete federal policy initiative based on a brand new campaign on rebranding himself as a fighter against business, which is successful, quote, places the Dems in serious danger, defenses ensue. The current working class environment is uniquely susceptible to populism. All progressive voters are pro-union enough to switch sides. That's Lux and Coil. The plan, allowing them to decrease wages doesn't the link. There's no second line more than 1 year. So refusing 2 years, then the messaging matters more than the material indication. Voters will not vote against Republicans because they voluntarily chose to increase their own wages. Second, other issues. Drop the straight turn. When you see Block and Sachs as the plan enables GOP campaign on affordable housing, healthcare, and other issues. There's no defense versus full base LB10. That's not the burden of our link. We don't have to win the GOP wins 100 this year. Next, it hurts his base. Normally says that Dems want to have us from corporatism. That Bruce is enough to swing that section of the voting block. They have to win enough Republicans to switch off to Trump. Overseas, sorry, offsets the voters they bring to the Dems. Republicans hate anti-corporatism is disproven by their internal hatred for Epstein, widely protesting against the party from taking the 1%, which was the plan allows them to pivot off. Their evidence is not about voting trends, it just equally describes ideology. Next was Hutchison says the plan wants to be evaluated from shareholder propaganda and proposals that plan enables them to do so. It's not perceived as wokeness. Trump packages it as striking a balance between corporate gains and worker benefits. Lastly, was Cajun cable issues matter more than Wilkinson evidence only has the word social issues and affordability highlighted the entire premise of our links. The plan creates a platform for them to engage on both of those by reeling in corporate exploitation. So one area do not name any of the other issues from the GBC. Do not let the two areas see them new. Regardless, drop that Iran's irrelevant because the war will be resolved in the next few months and it only matters because lack of economic threats, which 40 messaging overcomes. No theoretical justification for rejecting it.
As a result of plan.
324.
So, we need to actually exactly. That sounds good.
Yeah, sort of link.
No, it's just that. Yeah, you're gonna. Midterms and take first.
Okay. where's this stand? Stupid. Okay. The order is going to be advantage 2 and then midterms. Judges, y'all are good. Stop me if you're not ready.
Disinformation is accidental. AI proliferates false content, which creates post-truth politics and inhibits pandemic and climate responses, destroying public trust and cohesion. And it goes nuclear. Diplomatic resolution and deepfakes convince leaders that attacks are imminent and high-pressure scenarios would cause a first strike from U.S. NOVA. We're trying to give in launch on warning participants, Bucknell and Hammer. And it's not outweighed by the DA. Disinformation means that rogue actors could fake U.S. testing now, which will certainly cause nuclear war. That's literally our scenario. Russia and China have no choice but to leave a flood of deepfake nuclear tests and undermine stability, which means is a prerequisite. And we solve 100% tech workers give up wages in order to find needing to work, and shares that AI is regulated with watermarks to make sure that leaders know what's fake and what's real. It won't lead to escalatory situations where nukes and nuclear weapons are assured to be launched. And on midterms, they are absolutely being demolished in the late term debate. Republicans hate CSR. That was Cleveland 25. He must refer to it's most specific to the app and the implementation and perception, because it literally talks about how corporations are cutting back on CSR practices now to appease Republican consumers who literally won't buy from woke corporations. They said the Republican Party just uses the app as a starting point to spin pro-labor platform. But one, if Republicans should just take any party that has nothing to do with increasing wages and say that it would, then there's no reason the app is key, since all of their cards say pro-labor is popular now, and Republicans love finally failing to change shareholder value. They actively see themselves in a war against corporations going woke, proven by lackluster Disney and greening initiatives. Means that the app is seen as less like labor power and more like environmental regulations. To frame this flow, prefer the CSR regulation link turn story to the labor reform link turn story, because their evidence assume that strengthening labor power now means a strengthening in bargaining rights over hours, wages, and conditions. All of their cards are about strengthening bargaining rights for hours, wages, and conditions. But the affirmative is more and more like an increase in regulations than traditional increases in bargaining rights. The headlines resulting from the affirmative are not working class unions win higher wages, but CSR initiatives drive corporations away from profit and towards wokeism. The plan literally would not increase wages. It would in fact decrease wages for wage workers, because they bargain away those wages for a higher meaning to work, which they've conceded throughout the entire debate. Going forward to Lake Mark plan, and spending 2 seconds on theories of bold choice. Counterplans cannot result in fiat implementation of the affirmative. This has been explicit since the 2AC and the 2NC basically dropped it, and then the 2NR shot themselves in the fucking seat. 2NR argument that theory solves abuse for competition about to lay on the plan, which zeroes their defense of non-resolutional theory, because they said we still get theory arguments even when it's resolutionally justified. They have zero defense of needing delay counterplans to concede. They get the K, condo, and pretty much whatever they want, as long as it doesn't defend the plan. Anything else kills debatability. They conceded clash and fairness leads teams to the 1AC and debates over labor, because it's an endless race to delay a day counterplan which lacks solvency. Applicants aren't assumed in the lit basin means we can never reasonably develop a deficit word. Also justifies counterplans that do the plan 99% of the time, since should mean certainty. They haven't made a predictability or debatability argument with warrants, and regardless drop from condo that valid set precedents. Debatability outweighs because the 2NR said there's no value to clash where there is substance. Condo, their only real argument is that any counterplan could result in the app, but they drop explicit one-error response. That's irrelevant, because you can't be at the result which is uniquely abusive, because we can't make saying no deficits. They also don't have evidence that this is true. It wouldn't result in a plan because the app has inherency. Well, they can concede, which they can concede, and the 2NR is just asserting the butterfly effect. It is not an argument. Specifically, their affirmative claims to result in the plan, which is different from a counterplan, maybe necessarily in the future causing the plan. If the plan has inherency, it means that it's not being passed in a quo, and only the counterplan's fiat implementation could potentially result in it. A resolutional theory, a ton of counterplans are competitive, but all for debate get awful for debate. They get infinite international fiat. This was a new 2NR argument, but still competes because tests if the USFG needs to act, which are the same word for the state's counterplan, but that would make the debate pointless, because every other country acting always overwhelms the United States, because it would literally be every global economy minus the US. Immediate definitions is irrelevant, but they prove our reasons why theory is good and key, especially in this debate where there's a clear fairness violation, because there's no reasonable answer to do the app after the midterm. Justified counterplans like do the app after politics passes or drop the app tomorrow, which cannot be debated, especially if their definitions are true. The fact that we let them have all other interpretations that are justified under condo means they definitely have enough flexibility to maintain negative ground, but there's absolutely no way to be affirmative under a model of debate where the negative is allowed to have counterplans that delay the affirmative. They definitely link to the definition. They fiat the entirety of the plan after the midterms happens, which violates the 2AC theory on cooperative federalism.
If we win, the theory interpretation means 100% risk of case outweighs any risk of DA mitigation.
Sorry, wait, say it again.
100% of case means
100% of case means
99%
99% DA.
It's still
Um,
half ballot. Do you
it's
have
still
the
an
transcript?
Yeah, no, Republicans, Trump wins does not mean it fucks up the affirmative because corporations are regulated by workers in the world of the app. This is on case, sorry. Are regulated by workers in the world of the app, which means that even if Trump wants companies to be able to, or wants the military to adopt super risky AI that will lead to deepfakes, workers are able to stop this from the bottom up because the models that the government would be adopting in the first place, the AI models they are adopting in the first place, would already have been regulated by tech workers who are developing this technology as it goes. They can bargain to remove unsafe AI practices and include watermarks on deepfakes that will allow world leaders to be able to tell what deepfakes are real and what are fake, which obviously turns the impact explicitly because a deepfake of nuclear testing would be extremely easy to create and impossible to discern in a world where AI goes unregulated. World without theory is far worse than world with theory, because it crowds out clash and activatability. They have no reason why they need this counterpoint to compete, and no reason why non-resolutional theory always needs to be removed. And debate is pointless if every debate sucks, because they can just fiat out of every single link to every DA by fiating that the plan happens in 100 years.
Yeah, it's just debate is pointless if debate sucks. There's not really an impact to non-res theory being bad.
There's no impact to non-res theory being bad, because otherwise, if we allow their interpretation to stand, every debate will be won by the negative.
Yeah.
Cards. I'm okay on that.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's all fine.
Go.
Okay, yeah, actually, me too.
Oh, you too.
Can you send me your version?
Flow. Yeah.
Thank you. Or just rock chalk it. Or rock chalk it.
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, I have a feeling that was.
Rookie, whatever.
Yes, possibly. These actually go.
Okay, cool. Congratulations on an excellent debate. The decision is a 2-1 decision from a negative.
Yeah, I saw it. I voted F. I didn't think the counterplan was legitimate, so I voted the case outweighed. I thought it was very close for me. I thought there was potentially a different version of the 2 and R that would have gotten it done. I think for me, the 2 and R, basically, I think the 2 and R need to sit on the distinction between counterplans that result in the AF versus counterplans that result in fiating the AF for me. I think that matters because a lot of the offense you're going for is just like, well, this interpretation they're going for is just bracketing out weight, like it'll basically bracket out any counterplan that could even impede at all because of the butterfly effect. It brackets out all these states and advantage counterplans. Whereas I think the interpretation of like counterplans that result in fiating the AF is maybe what the AF wanted to say, but wasn't the interpretation that was actually articulated in the 2AC no takebacks. That being said, I don't think that's really the version of the 2 and R that was given. I think it was just kind of, it was asserted that it was very quick. It was like, that was the other thing. It was like, it felt like the theory debating was almost like an afterthought in the 2 and R to some degree. Like it was just kind of asserted that the counterplan could result in the AF, so it's an unworkable interpretation. The AF then says their interp really only brackets out delay, and then maybe these like add process counterplans because they only would like bracket out these counterplans that result in fiating the AF. It seems like there's reclarification of the interp eliminates some of like the better neg theory arguments. There wasn't really a clarification moment earlier in the debate that made me go, oh no, this is not what the AF meant by this. And my other problem was there wasn't really like post 2 and R an offensive justification that I could articulate aside from this butterfly effect argument for why delay counterplans, the class of counterplans that can result in fiating the AF are good. Like I don't know what the net benefit would be to voting on the negs theory interpretation other than this argument that it's like it's not a counterplan, that it's an AF, and delay AFs are bad, so we should allow it as a counterplan instead. My thing was like it seems like eliminating the delay counterplan on theory grounds seems like the best of both worlds. Like it's compatible with the version of debate that says that AFs have to be immediate to be topical, while still, including this category of counterplans that makes it very difficult to be AF and basically forces the AF to like read a time-sensitive advantage in order to like be in the game. If you had that, I think like the core thing is like the 1 hour was very light, and I suspect that's where I'll diverge from the other 2 decisions, and I could have been convinced otherwise. But that being said, there's defense, but like it's this time-sensitive advantages argument. All of the offense is predicated on this competition question that jurisdictionally have to vote on the counterplan if it's conceded to competes and solves. And I just couldn't really wrap my head around like why that is the case, like why there isn't just like a path to theoretically excluding this class of counterplans, even if they kind of like do compete on a pure resolutional level.
Yeah, I can go next. I think Tyler's decision makes sense. I thought some of the theory stuff was definitely very late breaking. I diverged on 2 issues. So first, I did vote on the butterfly effect argument. So the 2 and R. So first, the text of the interpretation was very important to me. I flowed the 2AC that said counterplans that result in the plan are a voting issue. If a 2AC had said, for example, counterplans that include the possibility of fiating the plan or something like that, I think you could like no link the butterfly effect argument more. But as applied, I agree with the neg that this theory interpretation would potentially eliminate all counterplans because any result could theoretically result in another action. I don't think 1AR can test that notion. You do say this counterplan is uniquely abusive because it fiats the entire plan. Where I diverge was I don't think that amended the text of your theory interpretation from the 2AC. Granted, the 2 and R doesn't really say the 1AR thing is new or not an amendment to a theory interpretation. But as I understood it, your theory interpretation was still the same, which is that counterplans cannot that result in the plan are a voting issue. You clarify in the 1AR that this specific type of counterplan that results in a plan is uniquely bad because it fiats a plan. But I don't think you advance a new distinct theory argument in the 1AR that says counterplans that fiat the plan are a voting issue. That's separate than the text of your 2AC interpretation. I think the 2AR kind of says this, but the 2AR, I think it's entirely new to 2AR. So adopting the 2AC's interp means that the negative gets no counterplans. So I thought the scope of that offense outweighed the risk that delay counterplans were abusive. The app also makes an inherency argument in response to a butterfly effect argument in the 2AR. I thought that was also new. It's also, I didn't think the butterfly effect argument was about the barrier to passage. Like the app has an inherent barrier, that's true, but it's about the potential effects that one action can have. And then separately, I also thought the 2AR didn't answer just like we meet the text of a theory interp, because the 2NR said topic definitions prove immediacy is a mandate of a plan, must be considered a part of the plan. The delay counterplan takes out of that, so a delay counterplan doesn't result in the plan. You have arguments for why delay counterplans really suck, but I think if they meet the text of your theory interp, then it's just like kind of like a floating argument without any like principled interpretation to back it up. So I thought arbitrariness was pretty high, even if you won like the actual ground DA to why delay counterplans were abusive. And so with that, because I thought it was legitimate, obviously there's no real deficit to it, so I thought risk of a link outweighed. I didn't think about link turn as much because you don't have uniqueness for a link turn, so it was just like, it was just theory. Yeah.
Yeah. Takeaway is that I was better at seeing the picture than I am because it took me like 3,000 words and 30 more minutes to get to the exact same spot. But I did write a ballot for the app first and then just kind of felt uncomfortable, allowing the switching of the interpretation. I've never considered nor heard the phrase amend a theory interpretation. I would have just considered it a new argument. The 1AR did have a justification for making a new argument, but I did feel like the problem isn't in the 1AR as much as in the 2AR in terms of where, all of the substantive distinctions between other counterplans and delay counterplans is kind of happening. And so I felt like I needed to protect the 2NR from that, big distinction. Obviously, the 2NR is making a decision based on technicals. Anyway, I did see the legend as structurally the same, but I feel it's worth maybe adding that, like, I did think that the AF kind of strategy against midterms is like cool and smart, but I thought that the neg was probably ahead on the link turn debate as well. Basically, it's because their evidence speaks to both link magnitude and the impact of the link far more explicitly than, AF basically doesn't speak to either, which ended up being relevant for questions like, if you're right about some of the way that plans perceived, et cetera, would the GOP attempt to campaign and introduce a counterspin or something? Or anyway, it's just kind of a little difficult, but I did want to stress that I really liked the idea of this AF strategy and a lot of other things that are happening in this debate for the AF. And I think that under very slightly different circumstances, and I nearly did it. I really did write first a ballot for the AF, but ended up feeling less comfortable with that one than the ballot that I wrote for the neg.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot a couple of our separate comments. You can't pause the timer in the 2NR to answer part of the question. I didn't just think of points for that. I wasn't sure how to resolve that issue, but just obviously you can't steal prep. The other thing was I thought the 1AR would have been justified to just making new permanent counterplan to the delay counterplan, because the negative never established competition in the 1NC. They just read a counterplan text, didn't say why it competed. So block was the first time they established competition for why the counterplan was a legitimate opportunity cost of a plan. So if a 1AR said first time they established it was in the block, perm do the counterplan, and then counter-define words, I feel like you could have just justified it that way, and then went for perm to the counterplan. For me, would have been a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. I missed the two other definitions of I guess where I'm confused is McCaffrey, I guess 1AR didn't make this statement. It sounds like, I definitely tried to make that distinction. There's a difference between fiated versus non-fiated, especially as applied to this counterplan. I guess
what more very well could have, and I might not have just flowed that part. I was struggling to keep up. There was a whole paragraph I wrote. If I had gone first, we would have gotten a very different explanation of everything. But yeah, no, you entirely could have said that. I did have a couple bits flagged in other places. There's a mention of delay and why fairness outweighs in the middle of condo that I like noted for myself, and like I'm not sure exactly what specifically you're referencing, but yeah, I guess I just missed that.
I mean, okay.
And
If you just missed it, that's fine.
honestly, even then, I then have to consider giving the type of justification that Zadao just made for like, I'd have to then decide that you should get a new permit or a new theory objection in the 1 year.
I for sure heard you say, like, I very carefully evaluated my flows to AC 1AR for this issue because I thought theory wasn't like super heavy until like the 2AR.
Mhm.
So I thought that what the 1AR said was this counter plan, you said there's a difference between any counter plan that could theoretically result in a plan, like a managed counter plan to do a carbon tax, and this counter plan.
Mhm.
I didn't view that. For me, the theory interpret is very important. I almost evaluate it like a topicality thing,
Sure.
where it's like, okay, so there's a difference. Like this counter plan is more abusive. It proves your offense, right?
Like
I
I get
didn't
that
view that
distinction.
as like a new theory.
I get that
argument.
distinction, yeah, but it's like 200 didn't say that, right?
Well, the 2 and R extended the
2 and R
butterfly effect argument, which I think still applied, which 100%
Okay,
applies
so
to
it's
theory.
like 1AR wasn't clear enough on here.
I don't think the 1AR said no link to butterfly effect argument. Our interpretation is you get to like I don't think you ever no linked it.
Okay.
Like I think you said
I thought that's what I was doing, but
okay. I didn't understand.
Translate
Yeah,
that's not
I
following.
didn't understand it that way either.
Is there a world where the 2AR is able to make the impact of delay counterplans outweigh the butterfly effect, or was that just not a possibility? The butterfly effect was too strong and articulated.
Sorry, I was going to just say that I think that as I understood your arguments, that was what you were trying to do. Or the way that I was working it out in the net and thinking about like whose ground arguments are better is like, do I sacrifice this context, right? Where I want to vote AF. I don't think that's going to surprise anyone. For the sake of preserving counterplans, I do think are legitimate. Or, you know, okay, I lost my train of thought there. But it's like either way, I have to like tolerate some theoretical, like theoretically suboptimal division between ground. And in this case, I felt like the loss of all counterplans outweighed the tolerance of this scenario for justifying delay when I wouldn't have tolerated had the right theory objection been raised. If that kind of makes sense.
I guess. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh no, the other thing is like there was a similar. This is a whole debate that never happened, but like there is actually kind of similar dynamic happening on competition instead of theory, which I feel like is the other 2AR that's available on like they're going to have to sit on I lose all this ads. But really they only lose the midterms and agenda politics disad and then questions of that being used as a functional limit on T, you know, like anyway, but my point is just like in both cases, I'm a little suspicious of the truth of the scope of the next ground link, but I felt like I didn't have the machinery to like distinguish between those things until it was too late. And I understand that perhaps I might have, you know, misheard or not understood part of the 1AR that could have, you know, changed my perception of that issue, but at the margin.
Is there a 2AR that you think gets around that?
I mean, I thought the 2AR that was given was very good, and felt like I considered what I thought was an interventionary decision for it on the basis that the analysis on delay counterplans was real good. So like, I think, I don't think that the problem is happening in the 2AR. It's like my understanding of the structure of the debate insofar as like, this isn't a complaint about the 1AR at all. It's just like everything's so blippy, and I had to like make a decision about what was new and what wasn't new. So like to me, this isn't like a structural argumentation problem.
Mhm.
This is a like, boy, is it difficult to flow a theory debate these days, bro.
Oh, just clarification, McCaffrey. You would have voted AF in terms of like counterclaim gone in case that was the dissent, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
No,
because
verbal
at the bottom of
decision
like
is
the
what
word
I-
stuff.
Was considered.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I thought a lot of the impact calculus in the 2AR was couched in terms of outweighing the arbitrariness stuff, less so the neg round impact to butterfly effect argument. I just the thing that made me kind of confident about this decision was like the we meet part. I just didn't think like there was a two-error answer. So I think both interpretations, the negative, it's like on a technical level met, like all of your offense is still couched for why allowing delay is bad, and it's obviously kind of applied, but you don't have like an interpretation that captures it. I think
Well, it captures it while avoiding the baggage.
Yeah.
Because I think you do
Right.
capture it.
Which is why I was wondering if there is a world where if the 2AR went harder on the affirmative always loses to delay counterplan plus politics, that would justify voting on getting rid of all counterplans. Like even if you agreed with the butterfly
I
effect
hear
to
what
some
you're saying.
I
extent.
think that would
That's
be
what I'm
valid.
wondering.
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
hear what you're saying, but that is like I was like, you basically were doing that, and you know,
I think the easiest way to fix this would be just like the wording of the Tracy theory interpretation being different.
Yeah.
For me, at least, would have helped a lot. If that had been the case, I probably would have voted affirmative. Or even like 1AR slowing down a bit, being like, this is a new theory argument, or like it's justified because X, Y, Z.
Yeah. I guess it out just because I must have maybe I misflowed. I didn't have the we need argument. Did I just miss that? Or is there-
Let's see.
that-
I
that's-
definitely had it. I flowed, quote, we meet, dropped, immediate action is topical mandate.
I had that as a like reason why like jurisdictionally like it competes. Did I just like I might have misflowed that, but like
I understood it as like we meet the text of the we meet the apps
Right.
theory interpretation. And I think they almost were trying to say that in cross-sex as well at some point.
That's all that.
okay. I feel like it's worth mentioning that like I don't think the problem is like the wording of a theory objection that was made to a different argument on a different flow.
Yes,
right?
true, very true.
Like and like the cross app of it is brilliant, and this is a good like trying to find the shortest path to victory. Also, trying to find the shortest path to victory on the neg is also impressive in this debate. Like strategic decision making is great. It's just like whoops, we missed the delay component. FI, so did I. You weren't wrong in the 1 hour when you're like it's buried in fucking 7 texts. Oh, like okay, I'm sympathetic to that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any other questions.
I had one question for you, Tyler. I guess the main thing you voted on being like a lack of offense that's not resolved by the difference in interpretation.
Yeah.
So it seems like you also concluded like half offense is low because of like time sensitive advantages, but neg offense is just like it's all predicated off like butterfly effect, and so it's lower.
I didn't think AF offense was like that was like if the only thing the AF has to say against this category of counterplans is like time sensitive advantage, then I do think that is a pretty tough spot to be in for the AF.
I guess I think that internal link to arbitrary. So like the tuner on condos, like theory is arbitrary, causes substance crowd out. It allows them to redraw the bounds every debate and like screws the neg. And I think that the tuner does try to cross apply it. Did you not have that cross app, or I guess what kind of defense do you think mitigated arbitrariness?
I mean, it's just like you had a lot of that on condo. I do think, for me at least, the more explicit application to okay, here's why this particular interpretation is arbitrary. Because like to me, it's not like you're just the no resolutional like you should just exclude arguments about a resolutional basis in theory. Like I've never like to me that equally undercuts condo too. Like I don't really understand what the like class of theory arguments are arbitrary. Like the implication of that is without some more explanation. Like
Okay, so do you? Okay.
like I think it's like okay, we conclude that there's like a particular like it's difficult for the AF to answer counterplans that may eventually result in fiating the AF. I don't know why I don't know like how I would articulate the impact of that being arbitrary as a theory interpretation that would outweigh like okay, but it makes it impossible to be AF. So what are we doing?
Okay. Another thing is just like so. I know it was like short, but like in the 2NC, I guess presumption on like the straight turn to certainty or antitrust. Do you think I think you all probably could conclude like we win reasonability, just judge kick and like neg on presumption because or do you think it's too like short?
Antitrust was too short. I caught that the 1AR didn't like address it, but like even as you were saying it, I was like, you need to say like 5-10 words more. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, I have like monopolies. Mean like road tech is
And they
inevitable.
explain
AF doesn't
solvency.
solve like just a little bit more.
Okay. What about Democrats solve the case? Did you all think about that. I tried to like gesture, and I realized I had little time to answer the link stuff, so I understand if that wasn't like clear, I guess. Do you think, did you all like interpret the 2NR as having said that?
I thought it was applied a little bit too much in the environment
Okay,
stuff.
yeah.
I didn't. I if I included that, I would have had to. That was actually something in the back of my mind. Like, I was thinking like if I include affirm theory, then I have to look at them solve the case and see if the evidence is like really talking about the AI stuff that they're saying. Because I don't think the three are really explicit. They answered Turin's case, like Trump messes it up. I don't think they explicitly said Dems don't solve the case. But I would, based on my I would have to basically see like I don't, maybe more explicit application of AI stuff would have been helpful for that.
I remember you saying it now, but I had forgotten during my
Yeah. Okay. I would say for things like that, if you want them to the judges are just gonna like start with the delay counter plan. Like if you know there's like an independent RFD that's like even if you conclude on the delay counter plan, like you can still check on that. Like you should make it explicit. Like even if it's like in a technical sense you don't have to, it just kind of makes the judges easier.
Okay. I think
Just one thing, the main reason we were deterred from going for the cap K was the like adaptation solved everything concession, which like intuitively takes out the K. Do you think there was anything external that we had that maybe we could
I just like why were you saying that? Like I was so confused when you were just like doubling down on adaptation solves and cross X and
cuts both ways and stuff.
I guess, but like if you want the cap K to be an option, like they're gonna concede it.
I think post the delay counter when we just kind of wanted to skew the point, but that's like irrelevant. Like, do you think the cap K was go forable? Like, is there something you think might be external that we can get out of that concession?
You had external, like you had like fertility and sex.
I guess what do you think?
That's all by adaptation. Tech risks, not really external.
Can you say adaptation checks like everything or just like environmental?
It's a little rough. It's
a little rough.
The tech thing is the only everything you have, which is also kind of implicated by case.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that you made the right 2NR choice.
Yeah.
In going for vigilante counter plan. It's just a warning though. If an exact scenario happens like this again, and the 1AR does extend like under the counter plan and justifies it in the way I explained, I would probably be half of that. Absent like a line in the 1C that said why I competed early. Something. Yeah.
Sure. We would have answered the case in that scenario. Thank you.
Good debate. Good luck.
Good debate.
Thank you for the
Good luck.
feedback.
Thank you.
No problem.